Yeah, that's right. We have Sam and Sam on Bitcoiners United. I have my daughter Evie with me. Evie's 4, and yeah, little Sam is just 2, huh?
What age are you, Sam? 2. You were 2 in October. Say hi to Evie and Fritz. Good boy.
Evie sometimes gets a little shy and embarrassed, and between Sam and Evie, they're not going to last for too long. So we'll see how that goes. And well, we may have some management of shuffling one way or another. But if you get busy or I get busy, I think we'll manage okay. But because we're streaming live, we were talking about orange pilling our kids as they grow up and quizzing them like, Evie, what's this? Look at that, Evie. What is that? Bitcoin.
Very good, Evie.
But one of the more based stories behind all that, the root of my Bitcoin journey also started for me, like Sam did for you, where Evie helped orange pill me. So similar as you might relate, Evie was born. I took some leave off work, and I was at home. And granted, it was some of the weird COVID time as well. But I'm at home. I'm taking care of her. You know how it is, where you're kind of like steadily busy, but your mind is just. You're doing the routines, but you have time to be thinking or doing stuff in the background, listening to podcasts. That's when I started learning a ton about Bitcoin. Was taking care of Evie. What was your story with Sam?
Oh man. So I first encountered Bitcoin all the way back in 2013. I was working as a programmer. I was still living back in Ireland at the time, and I was raised pretty close to the border with Northern Ireland. So I was working in Northern Ireland, earning British pounds, but all my utilities, my bank account was in the Republic of Ireland, so euros. And you know, it's hard to believe just 12 years ago, but there wasn't really an easy way to send money across a border, at least not in Ireland or within Europe. So I was always getting hammered. Like I would withdraw money from an ATM in Northern Ireland, so I'd have this sterling cash. And then as I was driving home, I would have to stop at the border and go into a physical bricks and mortar bureau to change it into euro, and then I would have to take an hour off work one morning a week to drive into my local town in the Republic of Ireland, deposit enough euros to meet my car insurance, cell phone, whatever. And I was always asking those utilities, can't I just pay you from my sterling account? But of course, Fritz, it was the time the Greek situation was going on. There was a run on the euro. So because the fluctuation was so much, the utilities wanted payment in euro. Anyway, so I was complaining about this at work one day, and I was a computer programmer, and I was in the break room one day, and I was complaining, and a guy said, "You should buy a Bitcoin. You can send it anywhere." So I went back to my desk and I Googled, and you know, there was no exchanges at the time, or
how do you actually buy this, and from who, and do we have to meet, or
so I think I landed on a Reddit thread, and like eventually figured out that the person that I had to wire money to had a profile picture of a frog, and his name was something like BTC2 Moon or something like that.
Right.
And I was going to put in 1,000 sterling at the time, Fritz, which would have gotten me 5 Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And I think it was PayPal. I had to wire him the money through PayPal, and I had the thing filled out, and I was about to send, and I went back and had another look, and like there was all these kinds of, it was like I had stumbled upon an online underground gaming platform, and like it just didn't seem, so I backed out. And I didn't think about Bitcoin again for 5 years until I moved to New York. And I was in a restaurant one night after a night class ended. The class went out for a meal on the last night. There was about 15 or 18 people. Upper East Side, so pretty expensive. And the check came and it was like $3,500. No one had cash. The restaurant would only accept 2 credit cards. one person wanted to write a check, but the restaurant wouldn't take a check. So we're sitting around, we're holding up the table, like smart people, but we couldn't figure out. No one person wanted to put that in their credit card.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the manager came by a few times and he wanted the table. So to diffuse the situation, I had obviously heard somewhere again about Bitcoin, and I thought I was being funny. I said to him, "Do you accept Bitcoin?" And he says, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh." I wasn't expecting. So I came home and I Googled again, and I landed on another Reddit thread. And I think I walked in on the leftovers of the block size wars. And I remember just thinking to myself, it was like midnight, and I remember thinking to myself, yeah, that's just what I thought that thing would be. Turned off the computer, went to bed, didn't think about it for another 5 years until he was born. And after he was born, Fritz, like I would have been okay myself. I'd kind of figured out my own future, sort of. But when he came along, you know, things changed. And I used to do the night feeds on that green chair. My wife Jessie would go to bed, and long nights, and just started trying to make myself financially literate in the US. I kind of knew how to be financially literate in Europe.
So you'd moved from Ireland to the US at that point, had Sam.
Yeah. And like because of my tech background, I thought I was going to play around with Tesla and Meta and, you know. But then I remember Googling like top performing stocks of the past 5 years, of the past 10 years. And on one of those results I got back, it showed the top performing assets, not just stocks. And they're miles ahead with Bitcoin. And I was like, whoa, that's not the Bitcoin I remember. This was in the fall of 23. So from that moment, Fritz, much like you, I had a lot of time on my hands. And so from reading about it to going maxi, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, you know, some of the accounts, it took a little longer to get them, you know, transferred over, IRAs and things. But yeah, pretty much consumed, like devoured all content.
Yeah.
And thank God found some good content straight up. I found the Robin Sire podcast he had just started.
Yeah, you were just on his podcast more recently. And that was like, I think that was one of the last podcasts he did before he changed formats, and he's doing his more of a solo live show now.
You want to hear the funny story about that? He was actually on my podcast.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
But I sat on the content for 3 weeks because I was sick and we were traveling, and I didn't edit the video. And finally I reached out to him and I said, hey, you know, so he put it out on his.
Oh.
And then afterwards I put it out on mine.
Okay.
So Robin's awesome. But anyway, yeah, I just very quickly fell into it, and the more I read, like I was just, I'm still on that buzz, you know. I just can't believe that I found this thing. I feel very blessed. And I don't know, I've never traded, I've never messed around with other tokens or coins or any, you know. So yeah, so I'd like to say,
curiosity there. Never went through that little phase, huh?
Well, truthfully, a little bit.
I did. I mean, I just was trying to figure it all out.
So when I got my stack, you know, everyone gets to the stage where they're like, oh my God, I don't have enough. And I was watching the prices, and I started noticing it. Well, I thought I noticed a trend over the weekends where things like Solana and Cardano were outperforming Bitcoin just a little bit. And then when the market would open on Monday, so I kind of said to myself, hey, I could swing trade over the weekend. And I tried doing that. I actually did okay for the first weekend or two, but then I realized pretty quickly that was that I just needed to hodl. And
yeah, that whole trade hustle works you over psychologically. You're kind of gambling. I mean, you can try to outthink the market, but the market remains irrational, and we can talk about market irrationality, right? You know, or adoption irrationality is going forward. But my story is very similar to yours, where I was, gosh, what I mean, I think it was 2012, 2013, I think it was. But anyway, I was working night shifts. I was indoors a lot. I was working in the jail, but I worked with people who were into sports and the lottery, literally, like kind of the fun group lottery buy type thing. And it was kind of like, I'm not into that. I had issues with, the theory behind gambling. I just categorically no. So, and I heard about it. They were talking about it. So I guess it was early, you'd say earlier, like you took a glance, I kind of saw it as like a gaming token thing, and for why, and I didn't see all the FUD about it. I was just kind of like, I don't quite get it. And I was more like, well, I'll just do gold if I want to do. I saw the problem with the dollar, but I was like, nah, I'll just do my gold, or whatever. I wasn't even into stocks. And again, it was years later when I had Evie and I had some time and I got hooked on the Sailor series with Breedlove, and then went from there.
Yeah.
I didn't actually find Robin Sayer till later, but while I was taking care of Evie, I had time to think basically and take a look. And also you think about it where, I mean, you're an older than average dad, like I am. I'm approaching 50 and here I am with a little one. And so I'm a wiser parent. I have more perspective. I'm not just kind of like beginning my career. I'm kind of in the stride of, okay, I mean, not to think negatively about it at all, but just when I'm gone, or I'm going to be so old, and where is Evie going to be? And I was thinking about, okay, financially, security, sustainability, and what am I doing for my legacy and for the kids? And Bitcoin kind of opened that door in so many ways. So,
we'll get into this maybe in a little bit. I want Sam to come say goodnight because it's time. It's late here.
Yeah, it's late for you. Sam, it's late.
Sam, come say hi. Come say goodnight. Are you going to show your truck?
Bye-bye, Kane. And then you can go too if you want.
You're going to show off your truck?
Oh, you got a cool truck.
That's a cool truck, isn't it? Are you going to say bye-bye?
Semi.
And good night? That's
night, night, Sammy.
Say good night.
Good night.
Good night.
No, good night, Sam. I love you. See you soon. Sweet dreams. God bless.
Not right now. I'm talking. I can't. Okay, so he's gonna go. Okay, I'm just gonna talk about your site for a moment. Oh, you got your stuff.
I'll go and I'll be right back.
That's all good. That's all. No worries. So I'm gonna bring up Sam's podcast page and X site here. I've got so his podcast, it is the Sam's Podcast. You can find it on YouTube. The Sam's Podcast. He has recently, 2 months ago, he had Jeff Booth on, which I found amazing. He was on Robin Sayer. From the get-go, having your little one with you and managing that, when you're a parent, you learn to multitask. Sometimes I try to do better than I actually do, but it works okay. You kind of figure it out and you do your best. But it's strengthened me as a man for sure. When you have kids, you think you got life figured out, and then you have a little one, and you're like, okay, time to saddle up or plan ahead or get productive, or you didn't know what tired was. I thought I knew what being tired was. And for those of you with kids, if you ever thought you kind of knew how it felt to be a little stressed or a little tired, and then you're doing all that and you add family, you can suddenly realize, wow, I didn't sleep last night. So you get to a new level in terms of fatigue, or you know what choice do I have but to push on, push through and do the right thing. And also to maintain your attitude. Like when I get tired, you can get kind of like grinchy and you're like, but it's taught me to, well, and being a little older, I've learned, the aspects of patience and maturity and tolerance and all that. So with my little one, I've decided, instead of like having goals to be better, I decided to make it work and be a better man. It even when you feel weak at times, it sure makes you stronger too.
Mm.
Now,
Yeah.
when you did a lot of traveling, you were through in Peru, back and forth, going to a conference.
Yeah, getting into Bitcoin kind of coincided with. So I'm Irish, obviously, and my wife Jessie is Peruvian.
Okay.
And so when Sam came along, we'd no help. So because we're both away from home. So there's no uncles, no aunts, no cousins, no grandparents, no, it's only ever been myself and Jessie.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, we went through the first, I don't know, year where we were just here in the apartment, really. And then because the grandparents are both overseas, and they're not traveling anymore, we have to go to them. So this year I was in Ireland twice. I was in Prague at the conference separately. Mm-hmm. So 3 times to Europe, and then they like keep score. Oh, you were there last time, but you haven't been here in a year. So we went
Family
to Peru.
Obligations.
We went to Peru in October. And then after I booked to go to Peru in October, I realized there was a conference in LA that I really, really, really wanted to get to.
Uh-huh.
So I made it work. So I left the vacation in Peru and flew to LA and back, and then back to New York.
Uh-huh.
And I drove down to DC this year. There was that conference, the BTC in DC. That was a really good one. Yeah, it was a very busy year.
And you might not be able to make it to El Salvador. I'll be in El Salvador in early mid-January there, January 6th to the 12th. But I'm aiming to be in Prague. You might be going to Prague again.
I definitely am going to Prague, and I'm bringing Jessie and Sam this time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I love Prague.
Hold on a second. I got to just film it after.
Sorry, Evie's getting something. Did you want to say good night?
Good night.
Good night, Evie. It was very nice to meet you.
Okay, will you go stay with Mom for a little bit?
Oh, why?
You can stay here if you want.
Well,
but multitasking, family and travel, and I've heard such good things about Prague. I haven't been there before.
So, well, first of all, it's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see much of the city because I wanted that exploration of Prague to be with Jessie and Sam. But it is, from what I saw, it's a beautiful city. But secondly, the conference is smaller.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, maybe 15, I'd say maybe 1,500 people, maybe 18 at a stretch. But you've all the big speakers. So this year when I was there was Saylor and Jack Mallow and Samson Mao and James Lavish, and I'm probably forgetting. But what I really liked about Prague was the Eastern Europeans have a different take.
Yeah.
It's very much, they're not as, I would say they're not as out there and vocal as American cypherpunks. They're more discreetly stacking Bitcoin because a lot of those guys grew up under the auspices of the Soviet Union. Communism.
They know how to keep it cool and operate under a system.
Yes, and I guess they also have it in the back of their mind that, there could come a time when your government isn't acting in your best interest.
Yeah.
And that they sort of see Bitcoin as being like a shield that they can put up against authoritarianism. There could come a time where, you're only allowed to buy one loaf every 4 days or something. And, there's silly things like that. But
sure,
I noticed that vibe there. Like there's a lot of people at that conference who aren't on X and only communicate with each other when they go to Prague. So that's kind of cool. You get into like deeper conversation, and I just
smaller venue. You have access to some of these guys, like because you got to meet Sailor briefly, and
well, I met Sailor in DC.
Okay.
But at Prague, I met George Boudin, who truthfully was probably top of my list to meet at that time.
He's got quite a story.
Yeah, I had just had him on my podcast, and he's a wonderful guy, George. So we'd kind of agreed that we would look out for each other, and we did. We got to hang out but yeah, I got to not meet, but like see and sort of wave to a lot of different people, and it's just a nice, relaxed. Like you didn't see people walking around with security around them.
Right.
People like I came in from a food truck at one point, and there right in the lobby was Samson now just taking a minute like on his phone, and no one was bugging him, you know.
Yeah.
So you'll love Prague, and the speakers as well. You'll randomly come across, I don't know, they're more like plucked from obscurity, the side stages. I heard a 14-year-old girl whose dad is an anarchist and has raised his family pretty much on a Bitcoin standard.
Wow.
And she gave a talk talking about, well, I'm under 18, so I can't be self-sovereign. And maybe I don't always want to know want my dad to know, you know, how I'm transacting. So her argument was, why is the government preventing me from, you know, being able to buy the things that I would like to buy online?
Interesting.
You know, whereas in the fiat world, she probably could have, you know, some type of fiat currency or a card or whatever. But yeah, she was making the case that she wasn't really allowed to because she was a child. That was an interesting talk. And then there's a guy called Paul Rosenberg, a writer from New York, whose books apparently inspired the early cypherpunks. I'd never heard of him, and he was on stage, panel discussion. Yeah, I really enjoyed what he had to say. The line that stuck with me from Paul Rosenberg was, Bitcoin is a revolution, and it's a revolution that's going to succeed because you can't fire a bullet through mathematics. That's the line that stuck with me. So yeah, you'll love Prague. There's random sort of obscure speakers who are like super interesting, but aren't well known. And then you do have the big hitters as well.
It sounds really, really based, very accessible, and just in a beautiful city to explore when you make that time as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I know you've talked about you've been in technology work for like 25 years, and specifically working on things like adoption cycles. We've talked about the chasm, the great chasm, and that's not just like in Bitcoin or finance or IPOs. I mean, that happens just with general technology adoption. Let me bring this up real quick. We've talked about this. You've seen this obviously for years. It's not new, but I wanted to ask you about you have a lot of ideas and work in this space, and what are your thoughts about this when it comes to Bitcoin or anything else? I feel like we're in the chasm now. In my studies and belief and sense of the space, as best as anyone can tell, because Bitcoin kind of breaks all models, but I feel like we're gonna be exiting the chasm here at some point. Is that your belief too?
I think we're standing on that precipice.
Like we're just right in here on the tip of the orange,
right at the end of the visionaries. No, we're nowhere near the orange yet.
Oh, really?
We've got some work to do. That's why I've been that chasm. If I was to recreate that diagram, that chasm would be twice as wide as any of the other segments.
Gotcha.
That's a significant hurdle for any emerging technology. So very quickly, when you show that diagram to Bitcoiners, the first thing they do is they push back against, you see the percentages at the bottom? They'll push back against that, and rightly so. This isn't a good fit for Bitcoin. But like, I think there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of pointers. There's a lot of information that you can glean from that diagram. So, the cypherpunks and the early developers, they were the innovators, right? And then I would consider myself an early adopter. You're probably an early adopter. I don't, even though I'm a former programmer, I don't really want to sit down and have to develop something. That doesn't align with my personality. I wouldn't feel that was rewarding. But what I like to do is, if something's like, some fella has a prototype and it's kind of half functioning, I like to dive into that prototype and say, wow, this is awesome. This part works really well, but have you considered, I kind of like that stage after innovation, to sort of bend it and mold it and shape it so that it's a better fit for the mainstream. So I'm an early adopter. And then the theory of that technology adoption bell curve is all companies or all technologies must cross that chasm. There's no way around it. Can't take an airplane over it. You have to go through that chasm. And that chasm is a very, very significant hurdle between the people who are early and the mainstream. And then right at the right-hand side of that bell curve, where the curve comes down, you have the laggards and or skeptics in this case.
Laggards down there.
And the best example of a laggard would be grandma, who has to use FaceTime because it's the only way she can communicate with her grandkid. So
Right.
That's a forced adoption, right? The pragmatists, or the early majority, they want a finished product. They want the product. They want a user manual. They want a service number they can call up.
It's got to just work. Yeah.
It's got to work. They don't have patience for, well, if you download the development toolkit and you open the zip file and run this, they want it out of the box working.
Yeah.
And then the late majority are kind of, they're the people so this is a new Samsung, the Fold phone. And the late majority would be the people that see me with this and they think this is cool. They don't particularly maybe see justifying the high price to get this, but they feel as though, well, Sam's got one and the guy at work's got one, so I guess I'm kind of getting left behind, so they go into one. So that's the late majority. And then the laggards is the forced adoption. So I think we've burnt, it's kind of a big statement, but I think that's stagnated. That's my headline. That's my thesis. I think we had stagnated. I think we had gotten to as many of the innovators and the early adopters as we were going to reach.
Yeah.
And I think the arrival of Wall Street is the start of the chasm.
Yeah. So there's this. You've mentioned it. It might have been with Jeff Booth, but you mentioned how there's this big collision happening between, like, tectonic plates. Was described, where Wall Street and Bitcoin are colliding, and they're both gonna affect each other. Now, Wall Street, as we see it, it's affecting the who's holding Bitcoin and how people are accessing Bitcoin. Meanwhile, Bitcoin is affecting Wall Street because it's changed a fundamental rule of the game, and they're having to navigate that, and it's like it could be very lucrative to them, and also they can't keep playing the same game they were playing. They have to adjust to Bitcoin. So there's a collision happening. There's FOMO and FUD all about that. And while I have my concerns, I feel like when I bring up this chart and we're looking at the pragmatists coming in and Wall Street's colliding, say, or maybe there's some visionaries too, but that I think it was sort of inevitable that the big money and the corporations and treasury companies, all that, as well as governments, are going to be driving that. Do you see that as well? That it's not going to just come from this retail market. It's big players, big money. So
you mentioned the tectonic plates.
Yeah.
And I think how I describe that is, if you think about how you were taught about tectonic plates at school, you know, over a long period of time, there's very, very powerful forces that they don't collide. They just sort of, the pressure comes on more and more and more, and eventually one of them pops up.
One wins.
And you get the Sierra Nevada, and the other one, maybe in a million years, will be revealed in another Earth movement where the rocks are revealed, and you can say, oh, that dates from this period. But the Sierra Nevada is the clear winner, right?
Yeah.
And I think Bitcoin is going to be the winner.
Yeah.
But the Earth's going to shake along the way, you know, and you're going to have tremors, and you're going to have this. This could go on some time. I would be expecting, and I've seen it, some serious pushback from, I wouldn't label all cypherpunks, but even the cypherpunks are split up among themselves, right? I guess politically, or you have the cypherpunks that are anarchists, and you have the cypherpunks that are, they're not really against government, but they just want to be sort of left alone. They're happy to exist in a world where there's a government and there's banks, but they just want to be left alone. And then there's the other guys that want to destroy everything and start from scratch. So yeah, there's going to be, I think we're going to go through a little bit of a period where, for example, I arrived, Fritz, in the fall of 23. And so when I'm on Spaces or whatever, or I'm on my podcast, sometimes I'm talking to guys who were cypherpunks back in the early 90s or whenever. And they eventually, so they were cypherpunks for a lot longer than they were Bitcoiners, but they still hold that sort of fundamentalist idea that this is for the underground, this is for the rebels, it's not for the institutions.
Yeah.
But then you have people like me. So I arrived fall of 23, and I need somebody somewhere to do something about getting this to a wider audience, because, you know, I don't mind admitting I like number go up. I can have my own sort of principles. Yeah. But because I got here later, I need to see some return, or I'll drift off to something else. So the newer people want return, and I think the newer people realize we had kind of stagnated. Orange pilling is a very, very difficult process. And like, I would like to see some figures around, you feel satisfied when you orange pill someone, but they're never going to tell you that they sold in the next 10% dip. So for me, I kind of see Wall Street as being a necessary evil. They've got an advertising department, they've got a marketing department, they've got a captive audience already. There isn't really that first stage of the orange pilling to go through. They've got their audience. And that's your gateway to the wider adoption. Now that's controversial. I know that my opinions are.
I don't disagree. I look at Wall Street as like, it's a force in nature, and you might not like the tide, but the tide is coming in, and it will. So that's, you know, it's like complaining about the moon. Well, if the moon would just move differently, the tide wouldn't go. It's like, you know what? It's happening. And so at one level, I think Jeff Booth was pretty stark about it, basically saying Bitcoin's going to win. Fiat and 3-letter acronym agencies are going to fight it and push. We can talk about the FUD going on. Like lately, quantum's been a whole thing, and it's like, are you kidding me? Like this is a solvable problem. Not that it's not important, but if quantum's a problem for Bitcoin, it's a problem for much more than that, earlier than that. Anyway, there's all this FUD, and there's incentives to have the FUD, and people can pontificate about what's good or bad going up or down. At one level, you feel funny about it because our language is in the dollar, or in your fiat currency. I see a lot of people that have been in it for a while, and they want number to go up. Just, you know, would be validating and helps. Other people are like, well, when it's down, I can stack more, and it will go up. Like, you know, it's gonna go up. So meanwhile, I can stack more. And then I feel like, well, I'm just out of dry powder. You know, I've done that. I will continue to do that. I'll keep buying as it goes up, as I have before. But I feel funny about price movement and price volatility because I feel both good and bad when it's up. I feel both good and not say bad, but like I feel funny about it when it's down. It's just a funny separate system from the fiat system I'm really trying to like escape from. Booth would say Bitcoin's going to win and fiat's going to have to capitulate or just die. But yeah, I mean, navigating that when a lot of people, they come to Bitcoin and all they're thinking is maybe it's retirement, and they're thinking in terms of their fiat currency, which is natural. So it's hard to feel like what's good or bad about it. It's happening. It was inevitable. It wasn't going to come from more and more pleb retail market. It's going to be a whole massive, vast portfolio of monies that kind of come to it because, well, my broker said it could be in a portfolio now, or it's on some index now, or, well, it just, there's a percentage that makes sense now. So I'm just in it. I didn't go for it, but they're the late adopters and it's just coming. So.
Yeah, it's inevitable. It's like you're not going to grow any more than you already are without, I don't know, like what do these people propose? The people that are like screaming about the arrival of Wall Street, do they propose that we just, I don't know, go and buy an island in the South Pacific and we'll all go and live there where there's no fiat? Look, it's the tectonic plates, and that pressure is ramping up and up and up and up and up. It's to be expected that people are, one's going to win and one's not. They're not going to coexist. But I think that could go on for a very long time, like a long time. And I never underestimate the means by which fiat can continue to exist. Like you have
it's
Japan,
incredible.
You have Japan at 250% debt to GDP. Like how's that possible? Because maybe I'm off. Maybe I read this in the wrong place. But to my understanding, when you get to 140, the red light's flashing. Your currency's in danger of spiraling. So these, like the tricks and the stunts and the financial engineering and the sort of the, I don't know, you run it hot for 4 years and then you pull back and we'll run it hot for 4 years, but we'll actually sort of, our money will be available to you during the time that you're pulling. Like how do you keep up with it? So
yeah,
it will continue. And like I posted a couple of days ago as well, a simple little tweet, and I don't think too many people got it. And I said,
I saw that, and people didn't understand it. They it was recent. Hold on a sec. I'll find it here. Sorry. Whoops. let me get. I'll bring it up. But basically, yeah, people I think misinterpreted what you'd said with it. They because it was about the Fed and oh yeah, so there's like 24 billion of BTC options that are about to expire December 26th.
Well, I was going to a different one. I must post.
Okay, go ahead. I'm confusing me.
The other one was simpler. It just said Bitcoin has not been financialized. Finance has been Bitcoinized. Which way do you look at it? Like, and where I stand on that is, if you believe in Bitcoin, Bitcoin will beat Wall Street and fiat eventually. It may take a long time, but like Bitcoin is never going to become financialized. I hear people talking about, they're screaming and shouting about paper Bitcoin. Well, let's say any of these players are reckless or devious about the way they do their financial engineering and they're sitting on like paper Bitcoin. Well, who's going to get wrecked?
Right.
It's either their client or the institution. It's not going to be Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin's going to be sitting in the corner going, hey, too bad you got wrecked. Okay, it's 100,000 coins, but guess what? There's 2 billion other people who are coming looking for those coins. So we may have to endure the dip when your large bank didn't play by the rules and got wrecked. But
Yeah,
it'll come back, and it has come back
Mhm.
before. So I can see people's concerns about, what people are afraid. Like people, it's like you've had this secret for a long time, and now everyone knows about it. And so the people who knew about the secret first, they're like, it's not theirs anymore, and they have to share it with people they don't like. Well,
yeah,
my feeling on that is, like, take a look around the world. Um, Look how many different cultures we have. Look how many different religions we have. Look how many different. It's to be expected. All those types of people are now going to exist in Bitcoin. So we're never going to have this consensus where everyone is on the same page. You're going to have socialists who own Bitcoin. You're going to have like extreme hard right who own Bitcoin. You're going to have Muslims who own Bitcoin, and you're going to have Jewish people who own Bitcoin, and Catholics, and you're going to have black people and white people, and like, are you going to
Bitcoin's for
build?
everybody.
Are you
Yeah.
going to build fences between each? No, like, yeah, I'm not sure if that's making any sense, but
Yeah, that's how I feel about it, because I've when I got really passionate about Bitcoin and I needed people to know, and then as they would say maybe get off zero or start taking steps, I always, it's like there's more and there's more. Or I would get, like, when the ETFs first came out, I was kind of like, like the establishment rug pull, or I was really cynical about it. And then I let it go, because Bitcoin is going to continue to run, and people are going to figure it out one way or another eventually. And I'm not as concerned about, Bitcoin is for everybody, as long as it's accessible in the liberty ways that, like, say, you and I would like to have it accessible to us. I see some walled gardens kind of growing around it, and people that are going to onboard and not really ever hold their keys.
Mm.
But Bitcoin, I just see it as still remaining anti-fragile. And then fiat's going to want to fiat. They're going to want to play their games. You're going to see wreckage occur here and there, but you can't mess with Bitcoin. And so as long as it stays, like Jeff Booth says, it stays decentralized and secure, I'll always encourage people to take self-custody and take responsibility about it if they really care. But and that's why I feel pretty bullish, because it's establishments becoming aware and entering the space. But Bitcoin will run. And even with the quantum thing or the other FUD, like Luke Groman mentioned things about, he'd sold, and granted, he'll probably buy again. He mentioned the fact of like quantum and other reasons to have a bear market for a while. I think what he's acknowledging is the irrationality of the market, the reality of maybe the retail type of market that's out there. It's not that he's anti-Bitcoin. He's a trader that way. But what you see is that, like, the dips are lower and shorter. The volatility is less crazy. It's volatile when you price it in fiat. But I see Bitcoin maturing in a lot of ways, and to me that was inevitable.
So quantum.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that the more distanced the observer is from technology, the more vocal they are about this imminent threat of quantum.
I see that.
And I think most of the people who are loudest, or who have the loudest voice, probably are the people. Hey, maybe they read the Wikipedia page about quantum. They can say what it is.
Yeah.
And they'll make a stab at a timeline. But like, have they put in the 100 hours that we put in initially to Bitcoin to study quantum? I would think not.
Yeah, Adam Back had a big collision with some influencer I've only heard the name of, but Adam Back was going back and forth on that about the cryptography, and basically the manageable nature of all of it. And this other guy was like, man, quantum's a serious threat to Bitcoin. And it's like, okay, he doesn't know the technology that well.
Well, strictly speaking, is it a threat to Bitcoin? Yes. Is it an imminent threat to Bitcoin? No.
Sure.
Is it a threat to Bitcoin that we can't fix? No.
Right.
So it's up to Bitcoiners. Now, I used to play soccer, and it was always a nice position to be in, that you had your destiny in your own hands. If you were at the top of the ladder going into the last 2 games of the league, your destiny was in your own hands. Maybe a draw would do, but if you're second or third in that ladder and you're chasing, so it's in our own hands. That's a nice position to be in, right? And the other thing I would say about it, Fritz, is so these people that are making most noise, what is it that they're saying? They're saying there's some type of attack vector that's coming at some unknown time that's going to completely destroy Bitcoin. Well, my answer to them would be, why don't we talk about what happened on October 10th? When there was, like, go and look at the chart. Was that not an attack on Bitcoin?
That was weird.
But we haven't talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
We have not talked about it. I heard Samson Mao maybe 10 days ago in a video somewhere, and he said, I know who it was, but I can't say.
Oh, really?
And that's it. And that's it. And no one pushed him on it. No one said to Samson Mao, no, sorry, Tom Lee.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And no one pushed Tom Lee from the Bitcoin community to say, hey, if you know, share it with us, because, like, you know what I'm talking about. That was
yeah.
That
there was another one, not as crazy, but like, was it earlier this week or last week, where there was just like it was phallic. It was like boom, boom. It was like, huh.
In 45 minutes, it rose $5,000 and sank $5,500, and then came up to where it was 45 minutes before that, and then just tapered out for the rest of the day. And then the following day, it was a sort of a double peak over a slightly longer period, but equally kind of absurd, I would have said.
There were weird, like, jumps and drops. I mean, and if you zoom out, it's just sort of static. But there were these crazy leaps and drops that was like, what is all that? Yeah.
It just seems absurd to me that no one is doing a postmortem on October 10th. We give it a name, the 1010 glitch, and we're moving on. No one says, well, what is a glitch? Where did it come from? Why did it never happen before? Why did it happen now? And we're just, it's amazing to me that there is a real world example. It happened, but we'd rather talk about this as yet unidentified, at some distant point in the future, attack, when an attack just happened 2 months ago, and we've just it's a glitch and we'll forget about it. It wasn't a glitch. I'm of the opinion that it wasn't a glitch. And I think that was the start. I think we're still in that, whatever it is, we're still going through it. Now, I'm bullish. I think once whatever this is, if you want to call it manipulation, if you want to call it, I don't know, Wall Street's arrival, whatever it is, like some people.
I'll throw a theory at you. So, I mean, so one idea out there is that, so like Luke Groman's been talking about, assets and Bitcoin for a long time, but as soon as he starts mentioning a bear market or quantum and stuff like that, it like blew up more mainstream. Like basically that kind of narrative in the mainstream was promoted, if you will, as a story and repeated. And so it's not like they were talking about what he was saying before all that, whether it was just a good headline or it fit a narrative. I feel like, so on one hand, and Jeff Booth mentioned one of these. So on one hand, you could say like what Jeff Booth mentioned on your pod was that powers that be, 3-letter acronym agencies or whatever, they see Bitcoin and like, oh, this is a threat. And of course, they're going to do deep studies, research. How can we manage this? How can we stop it? How can we control it? How do we co-opt it? That's just, it's like what they do. And because they see it as a threat and they're fudding on it whenever they can, they're trying to grapple with something they can't stop. So there's that. It could just be blanket, just, psyop attack, stupid. Or there could be, I don't know, treasury companies or even nation states or big players that want to play some games and shake things up and keep the price down so that they can quietly get a better price. And maybe these large players are positioning themselves at a lower price because they see what's coming and they just don't want to be second or last.
So there's people coming into the space with lots of money, lots of power, lots of influence who are not Bitcoiners.
Yeah.
They're not Bitcoiners. They could care less about our ideology. They could care less about our spaces and our podcasts and they see an asset, right?
Yeah.
It's a financial asset, and they're acting accordingly.
It's purely competitive resource capture game is,
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's list out the things that have happened. I was actually flying to Peru when 1010 happened. And when I got out of the plane in the south of Peru, I looked at my phone, I checked X a little bit, then I looked at the Bitcoin price, and it had already started dropping. And then we took a taxi to my wife's family's house, and I actually forgot my phone in the taxi.
Oh.
But thankfully, long story short, the taxi was part of the airport's service.
Oh.
So we were able to very quickly. So anyway, I spent the whole afternoon getting across the city to get to my cell phone. And by the time I got to my cell phone, I was like, what the hell just happened? It was like it had dropped. So to me, that was the start of it. Now, you can maybe go back a little bit earlier if you wanted to. There was like some tremors before that, but that was the opening scene. And then after that, you start getting these prominent voices stepping forward and saying, like, I honestly hadn't heard anyone publicly talk about a 4-year cycle for months. Those people seem to have disappeared, but they were back in force in November and are still here. And at the same time, quantum appeared. And then shortly after that, you had, do you remember that run of days where there was a Wall Street institution announcement every day for like 6 days?
Yeah.
And I think there was 10 institutions within those 6 days at the start of December.
Yeah.
And then you have these sort of weird, and then the release of that video that I was referencing in my tweet where Larry Fink, and like I replayed that video a bunch of times. I actually saw that video on BTC Sessions where he played the video, and there's something in that line delivered by Larry Fink. Larry Fink's not just making an observation there. Larry Fink, I think, is telling us, listen, if the institutions are arriving, we don't want to be in bed with the types of traders who've been around this asset for the last 10 years. We don't want to be around, they want the asset matured. And so I think they're wanting to chase out. I don't think it's necessarily about wanting to drop the price down per se, but I think they're trying to chase out players
I think they're positioning themselves, if that's what you're kind of getting at a little bit. That was kind of my thought. Maybe they're just trying to play the game, but they're positioning themselves and getting themselves in and shaking the market, keeping the price low, if you will, in their mind, and preparing the groundwork for big gains much later.
If I'm the CEO of one of those institutions, I want to, if I didn't already know, I want a full dossier on what happened on 1010, and I want names. I want to know everything about what happened, and I want to bring it into the public light.
So you can like evaluate the risk there.
No, so that I can chase out the people, because I don't believe that was a glitch. I believe that was orchestrated. So if I'm a reputable, publicly traded financial institution, who's embracing this asset. I want to get rid of that rogue player, whether it's an exchange, a team within an exchange, a leveraged trader sort of working in tandem with an exchange. I don't care who it is. If I'm a CEO of a publicly traded company, I want to know what happened. If I didn't know already. Yeah, I think what Larry Fink was saying was that, of course, there's always going to be leverage trading, right? That's free market, but I think there was something telling in that sentence where, at least what I took out of it was, he's not entirely happy about the influence that all of the leverage traders have over this asset that they're embracing more and more. So that's what I read into it.
And this is the tweet, right? Bitcoin is heavily influenced by leveraged players.
Yeah, well, that quote, by the way, I don't know, many people called me out in the comments saying, Grok is, is this true? Did this happen? Well, yeah, that's a quote from Larry Fink. There's a video that goes along with it. I didn't post the video. I just grabbed a still image of Larry Fink.
Yeah.
But there's a video out there. I think it's from December 3rd. And Ben at BTC Sessions, I think I watched that video Wednesday night. He maybe put that video out either Wednesday morning or Tuesday night. But at some point this week, Ben discussed that on his show and played the Larry Fink video. So yeah, that quote, I wouldn't have put it in double quotes if it wasn't like, I don't want to get sued by Larry Fink.
Sure.
I've got enough problems without getting sued by Larry Fink. But yeah, that's his quote. And then I sort of put my thoughts beneath it, but I didn't pluck those thoughts out of thin air. It was actually Samson Mao who first put the December 26th to my attention. I saw somewhere in an exchange of comments, someone was asking Samson, well, like, you're the guy who talks about the candles. When are we going to get some
the Omega candle? Like
normal volatility? And Samson answered by saying December 26th, no explanation. So I go off and do a little bit of digging, and yeah, I'm not a trader, Fritz, so I don't understand the mechanics of trading. But there's $24 billion worth of trades expiring on December 26th. And historically, it has either prefaced a bull run or a bear run, but
it's going to move.
It's going to move, but look, I think you could make a case that we haven't had a bull run. I mean, it looks like we're leaving the year slightly down on the year.
Right.
So was there really a bull run yet? I'm inclined to think no.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, that tweet annoyed a lot of people. I thought I was just putting out another tweet that would get forward.
Well, I think people misinterpreted it, because it's not like you're saying, like, oh yeah, like I agree, or it's gonna not happen anymore, or whatever. You're quoting Larry Fink and saying, people are gonna continue to do their leverage and play those games. I think people were reading like what Larry Fink said and thinking that you were taking it just very literally or out of context, like this is what is happening from here on out, and sort of missed the context.
Yeah. Maybe I was intentionally cryptic because I had it in the back of my mind that I didn't want to get sued by Larry Fink. Who does? But I wasn't suggesting, like, people came at me and said leverage trading isn't going to go away, and that's not what I said.
Yeah.
I think what Larry Fink was referring to is that there's some leverage traders that he doesn't want to be in bed with, and that the institutions don't want to be in bed with, and like, read between the lines. But I'm going to bet on Wall Street getting rid of, could you call them rogue leverage traders, or if there's shenanigans going on somewhere, which undoubtedly there is.
Yeah.
I think that's what Larry Fink was saying.
Yeah, they don't want risk, and they don't want to get rug pulled or caught by surprise. They want to know their partners. They might actually have their own. They're going to develop their own internal rules on transparency or proof of reserves, or they're gonna like just out of sheer good business. Bitcoin has been very good to BlackRock and very good for others. They want to keep riding that pony. So they're going to help self-regulate themselves as well. Now, is it a game that I want to play? Not at all, but they're playing it and they're going to want that to work. So, and then they're going to have to basically work with Bitcoin. So
Fritz, if you're the VP of Bitcoin at JP Morgan and you're going into C-suite and something terrible has happened in terms of trading in Bitcoin, another 10-10 or whatever, and the head guys at JP Morgan say to you, hey, Fritz, you know what happened? And you say, well, there's this guy called James Wynn, and he's like, his profile picture is, Neo from the Matrix, and like he's got all these crazy trades going on. We're not sure who he is. We're not sure if he's even real. We're not sure if the amount of money is real. Some people question that. We're not sure where he's getting his money. Like, you're going to be fired from JP Morgan.
Yeah. So there's some guy that can affect our business.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, him and others maybe.
Yeah.
No.
And where did he get his information? Did he get his information from, could he see buy orders and sell orders and other trades? Like if I'm the CEO of JP Morgan and you're my Bitcoin guy and you come back to me with that information, it's not going to stand. You're going to want a free sort of market to an extent, but you don't want a James Wynn rolling up.
Oh yeah.
And that goes back to what I said earlier about the tectonic plates, because the cypherpunks would say, well, JP Morgan, James Wynn's perfectly entitled. So there's that side of it. I'm just making the point, this is going to continue to happen. And by the way, Fritz, the Samurai wallet guys, very poorly supported. What's the word that's left my head where you sign the petition? Change.org.
Uh-huh.
And it sort of occurred to me why. You could put in a false email and a false name, but if you want to make a donation, I don't think there was a Bitcoin option available.
Yeah, they're not allowed to till later, I think.
Yeah.
Per the judgment.
So you saw a very, like I was kind of shocked at how few people among the Bitcoin community, some people don't like that word community, but and I think the reason was they want privacy. Like it's kind of ironic that the issue at hand is, these guys who developed open source code to protect privacy couldn't be supported because people didn't want to come out publicly and support them because the supporters wanted privacy as well. So
right,
that plays into what I see as it's a marriage of inconvenience between Wall Street and cypherpunks and people who value what I would call fundamentalists.
Yeah, and we want privacy tools or more usable privacy tools. Like I think Jack Mallers on Monday was talking about, he's long on Bitcoin security. So people can say, well, Bitcoin, whether it's heuristics or following stuff or how much can you obfuscate? How easy really is it to buy non-KYC? A lot of people are KYC'd. I get it. If you're going to develop a tool that encourages privacy on Bitcoin, what would Satoshi do? What did Satoshi do? Completely careful with his operational security. His OPSEC was hardcore. Because if he hadn't have been, he'd be like the Samurai guys now or worse. The Samurai guys were, and I'm not judging it, but I think maybe they felt a little cavalier. I don't know, but they were kind of saying, hey, and joking, or you could say, hey, that was a joke. but they were kind of throwing it out there like, hey, you know, some Russian oligarch gets arrested and they're like, should have used samurai, you know, that kind of thing. So then the feds are like, you know, all over it, and they were made examples of. That said, there are still cypherpunks in the world. I think there will be tools, sort of like, you know, like yesterday I had a video about the Cypherpunks Manifesto here, and I read that out. And, you know, Eric Hughes talks about information wants to be free. Code is information. It will be out there. It'll be like, there will be tools out there that enable people to do stuff, to go out there and do stuff. Now, that's not going to be the large retail market or the institutions, perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, samurai didn't help themselves in their business marketing. But that's not to say I didn't sign the petition and support them, you know, because I think what happened to them is a little crazy and kind of a canary, if you will. Like, hey, the government, under whatever administration, they're still going after these guys. Is Trump going to pardon them? Maybe, but I don't know, you know.
How about some guidelines for those guys when they set out? And those guys sought guidance. Those guys had a lawyer. Those guys wanted to be within the bounds of the law, but there were no bounds. So they were screaming out for clarity. And their legal advisor had told them that they were fine with what they were doing. Like, it's...
When FinCEN had said, no, they're not an electronic money transmitter. They're not.
Yep. Now, I'm going to throw something else at you. People are going to think I'm not a conspiracy theorist. But
we can go there. I'm happy. I'm good for it.
But this has been a wild quarter, right? Is there anything about the timing of the Samurai Wallet guys coming in the midst of this series of events? Because part of me thinks it's horrible to say this about the Samurai guys, but I think part of that, the way that went down, was a message to a community, not just to those two guys, and coming as it did in the midst of what we discussed earlier. Is there is that a coincidence? Is that I don't know.
Right.
It's been a crazy quarter, but
well, because they got arrested and doors busted in like early to mid-April of 2024. And so here we are, a year and a half later. It's just kind of simmered and simmered and simmered. It drops now amongst all this other stuff. I'm wondering, is it a last ditch, or not to say last ditch, but a concerted effort all at once to FUD on Bitcoin or to put a chill on it?
I think it's a message being sent. I think it's a message. Was the timing coincidental? Like, most people hadn't heard about the Samurai case until, you know, this fall. But I heard Keone explain that, like, they couldn't. The process was, he couldn't come out publicly and talk about a process that was still unfolding. Yeah, it's just interesting to sort of. These are the types of things that I ponder. Fritz, I was raised by a man who was very anti-establishment. He was a peaceful man, but he was very anti-establishment. He was a free thinker, and he despised banks because we at one point had in or around 200 acres of a farm, which is today 30 or 35 acres. And that's the loss, certainly in my father's time. My father's passed away since 2021, but he had to stand in our hometown and watch the bank auction part of his farm because they'd called him the debt.
Yeah.
And so he was very anti-banks, and maybe I inherited that from my father. I wouldn't call myself a conspiracy theorist, but think about the advice you get when you come into Bitcoin. Don't trust, verify. So I'm looking at this quarter, and I want to try and verify what the heck's going on here. And there's some, certainly in my short time in Bitcoin, there's a lot of anomalies, we'll say. So look, we'll find out. But regarding Bitcoin itself and price, as I said in that tweet, I think the foot comes off the hose pipe again. It has to, because these institutions, as you said, want to make their money out of it. They're afraid of getting left behind, so they have to let it go and do its thing. So yeah, I'm bullish going into 2026. I'm actually very bullish going into 2026.
I am too. Yeah.
I think once this thing starts to run, I think a lot of people are going to wake up again. It's like we sort of fell asleep, and people have thrown in the towel. There's very few bulls left openly. People are just sort of either bearish or they're silent.
Yeah.
But I think people are going to wait. I think we're going to go back to where we were on October 9th, October 8th, whatever, and just resume, because the good news that we've had this year, I mean, the pointers, like the macro stuff, and it was just wave after wave after wave after wave of positivity. This institution is now advising that their clients allocate so much, and this institution and this government has bought. And ironically, just before all of that FUD, Kazakhstan, random landlocked country, and announced $1 billion investment in crypto, of which 300 million would be Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The news hardly got out. Texas announced shortly before that, which should have been huge news. And now the amount of Bitcoin was small, but still, that news should have resonated. It didn't.
Yeah.
So we had all of the good news. We've had rate cuts. We've more coming. Powell's, going to be replaced by a guy who's not going to be too late, as Trump would say. So, I'm
new Fed chair, coming.
Yeah, look, they, for multiple different reasons, there's no option other than to print money and run this thing hot.
They have to print the money. They're beyond broke. And now that, I mean, it's crazy to think when you at earlier on in this podcast, and it was like, how long could this continue on? I have memories like 15 years ago, or maybe it was like somewhat after the 2008 crisis. And I was floored that the Federal Reserve at the time was printing like 10 to 15 billion a month. And now it's 10x from that. I mean, we're talking at least maybe probably $1 trillion a year. And so they're kicking the can. They're cornered between inflation and interest rates and liquidity, and they have to print the money. Or I'm going to throw a conspiracy at you if you're okay with conspiracies. So here now, this is just my speculative. Like, you imagine, don't let any good emergency go to waste. And they feel cornered in their financial games. They can't continue this game. They're losing ground. There's new tech coming, and they can't just print money. They're stuck, and it's going to collapse. So, an operation you take off the shelf, like other operations we've seen in the past, where they help make big change and pass banking laws or whatever related to terrorism or whatever else. Imagine that the economy tanks, gets wrecked. It's bad. Banks go down. People lose their jobs. Things are happening, and it's like, save us, government. And they can only print so much money. So they get a UBI going. It's their CBDC. It's digital ID. You pay your taxes in it, and it's the new money. Not that it's any better money at all, but it's sort of like a capture of your existence as a person if you're going to function as a with money, or at least government money. Maybe it could be a huge shakeup or a collapse or a depression of sorts. And most people are they're going to be panicked. They're going to be scared. They're expecting a government or heroes to step in and just tell us what to do, and they will relinquish their liberty for security. Imagining the Benjamin Franklin quote, I believe it is, So could that be an operation where, yes, it will collapse in some ways, but it'll be the quick replacement problem reaction solution to all the things: digital ID, CBDC, UBI, and Brave New World. What do you think of that?
Well, for obvious reasons, I keep a close eye on what's happening in Europe. I'm 10 years in the States, Fritz. When I left Ireland and left Europe, if you'd told me that within 10 years, Europe would be in the position that it is now, I would have said you're crazy.
I've seen things in Ireland. When you go back to Ireland, it must be like, this is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to talk about what you don't want to, but all I see are just sort of the videos that might stream during stuff. But it's like, what happened? This is not Ireland that I remember, that I've never been to, but I've been to England and Scotland. I hadn't been to Ireland, but when I was a teenager, I remember traveling to Europe, and I had this, it kind of fit my imaginations of, what it was. And this was pre European Union, but wow, so much has changed.
I might start to sound like Simon Dixon.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Look, Ireland has completely lost its sovereignty. It's on maybe its second or third recent government who are just continuing the same policies. The people don't seem to have recourse to give a mandate to government anymore. The government just seems to, regardless of what stripe they are, they get into government and they toe the line with the European Union. And the European Union at this moment in time, I'm with Viktor Orban and the guys that tried to oppose Ursula von der Leyen over the past couple of days. I'm with the farmers. I'm with the people that are trying to save Europe from itself. But by the same token, my mother is alive and well in Ireland, and I go back. I was there twice this year, and I don't want to get arrested for speaking truths.
Yeah, it's like, so what's bad speech? Oh, you'll know it when we let you know. Like, I don't know what the line is. Where's the line?
Well, the line's I probably went as close to the line as you're allowed to go right now with what I just said, that Ireland has lost its sovereignty, that successive Irish governments are being told what to do by a European Union who I think aren't acting in its citizens' best interests. I was quite shocked when I went back. I was there in April, and I was there in September, and the change even from April until September was stark. Not that I have deep political conversations with either family or friends, but just from things that you would hear people say, like the sort of the accepted narrative had shifted, and so where I had previously stood as in a sort of a centrist position when I lived there, if I express those same beliefs and dreams and sort of ideologies now, well, I'm way the heck over here, and everyone else has, but I haven't moved.
Yeah, exactly.
My belief systems haven't changed. I still see myself as centrist, but everyone else just seems to have gone all the way the hell over here because that's the direction that Europe wants them to go, and it's.
Do you think that's being pushed by the government and made to seem normal, or are the people themselves also kind of just mesmerized by, well, it's just trying to be nice, right? The nice, peaceful, get along guys.
I think when you see stuff online and you see a protest and the headline will be Ireland has had enough, and you'll see people like throwing bottles at police, that's very, very, very small percentage of Ireland. Yeah, there's a sense of what direction you should be going in Western Europe that's aligned with the European Union and the European Central Bank, and there doesn't seem to be any or much resistance to it. Like, I was home for my school reunion in September, so there were probably, I don't know, 50, maybe 60 guys my age. So we went to the school, and for the afternoon, then we went to a bar. And so at different times during the day, I was kind of talking to different people, and I would mention, hey, have you heard about Bitcoin? But I didn't say that I was a Bitcoiner or that I was podcasting, and they were like, no, sorry, I'll back up. I asked them about the CBDC. And they're like, what? A lot of them didn't even know what a CBDC was. And I said, well, you're going to have it in your pocket or in your phone in 3 or 4 years' time. You don't know what it is. And have you heard about Bitcoin? Yeah, I heard like a little bit, heard about Bitcoin. But so to me, a lack of knowledge about those things that are imminent suggests to me that the narrative is being controlled through education and media.
Yeah, I mean, when you see Christine, was it Lagarde? Christine Lagarde, and she's basically just kind of putting it out there that, like, kind of like Klaus Schwab, whatever. It's like you'll eat the bugs and you'll be happy. You'll use the CBDC and life will be better. And it's like, how are people not totally floored by this? Yeah.
Well, a CBDC. Here's a controversial statement, Fritz. CBDC, in and of itself, is not bad. The danger with the CBDC is when it's put into the hands of authoritarians or dictators who can switch on and off money. But like the actual entity itself is not bad. It's benign. But then when you layer on top of that the sort of the rhetoric that's coming out of the EU, that's what worries me. And then, well, it's going towards the Chinese model. The Chinese model of a social score, digital ID, and a digital currency, where the state has full control over your money, your status in society based on what you've said, and your movement, I guess.
Yeah.
Which
well, they can just switch you off, say, like you're doing the wrong things, or they don't like it, or you're a criminal. Flip the switch.
Yeah. I threw out some ideas about where CBDCs could go into the future, like under extreme administrations or whatever, and like full control. And so, Fritz, just to explain, in my 10 years in the United States, like, I arrived in the United States with this sort of very boyish, naive. I was very green when I got off the boat first. My perception of the United States was like from the 1980s television, where everyone lived in California and they had BMX bikes and they lived in a nice house, and you went to the beach and surfed, and everything was, you had all the consumer electronics at home, and the money wasn't a problem. And so I very sort of quickly realized that there's some problems here. It's not the utopia that I thought. But simultaneously with me discovering that there were issues, as I got to know the system and got to know the politics and got to know the money, simultaneously I got to see the good sides. And like, I'm very happy that I'm in the United States right now, because like I tell some of my American friends, yes, things may seem bad right now, or they may have seemed bad for the past 8 or 10 years, but let's take a step back and look at where we are versus some other places. Like we have a lot of our freedoms yet.
Yeah.
Differs from state to state, of course, but ultimately, you have your constitutional rights regardless of where you are. If push comes to shove, and I think we don't point to that enough. That we're sort of lucky to be where we are when you look at how you look at Western Europe, Australia, South Africa has had its problems. How many governments have been overthrown because they were deemed not to be acting in their citizens' best interest? There was Nepal. There's a whole list of them. So as bad as things are here, we should still be thankful that we have our freedoms and we have. One thing I like about the States is you and I could get into not so much politics, but we could get into talking about, the extended federal government, and you're perfectly free in the United States to stick it to the man. You can say that publicly that the feds are doing this, they're doing that. I wouldn't be so confident that I could openly say things like that in Ireland or Western Europe at the minute. So
yeah, it's interesting because, well, for one, seeing news type sound bites on free speech issues in England, and in my mind, Ireland always had that kind of rebellious, independent spirit because the history of fighting like a monarchy from abroad or getting conscripted and all the things, they have that deep memory. Australia as well. In my head, Australia consisted of a lot of fairly independent, strong-spirited minded folks, a background of, doing their own thing separate from a monarchy. But, and I don't know how it is in Ireland, but like to see what's happening in Britain. But so I've got Sean Clark coming on. I don't know if you know him, G'day Bitcoin on Monday. He's coming on Monday.
Nice guy, interesting guy. Yeah. I enjoy listening to him.
Yeah, great guy. And he's been pretty verbal. So like, I don't know how COVID was like in Ireland, say, but in Australia, COVID got weird, like draconian, strong arm stuff. And now too, with laws being passed and the politics going on, Sean has posted stuff about that, but I want to just ask him somewhat jokingly, but also it's like, I don't want to curse in front of you if you don't like that, but I was going to say, like, is Australia just effed? I mean, like, what is going on in Australia? I could similarly say, like, what is going on in Europe? Are countries going to start to opt out of the European Union, or are the people going to stand up, or is it going to be just kind of the water keeps heating up and the good farmers just kind of keep taking it? And if this is heady too, you don't have to talk about it, because what I'll see is that like, oh yeah, no, you own land. Oh wait, no, you pay property taxes forever, or you have to maintain so much, or taxes are going up, and oh what, you can't just keep doing what you're doing. You owe us now. We're going to take some land.
So I think the same ideology that's taken Western Europe down what I consider to be a bad road is the same ideology that's taken Australia down a bad road. It's the same ideology that could potentially take the United States down a bad road. It's all the same. It's just different manifestations. Some states within Europe are further along. I think in the United States we're a bit behind. Like when I talk about this stuff in Bitcoin spaces, sometimes, Fritz, people sort of attack me and they say, well, we don't care about Europe. We don't care about the new mayor of New York. And my response is always, well, you probably should care, because, I'll bet a lot of people in Europe would wish that they could go back 6-7 years ago when someone said to them, hey, what about this guy that got elected, or what about this thing that happened? Because those dominoes fell pretty quickly in Western Europe. When I left Ireland, Ireland was, when my wife and I met, we had a serious conversation about whether we should live in Ireland or the United States. There wasn't a clear, probably in terms of economy, Ireland was better. But my wife was established here, and I was kind of carefree, and I wanted to live in the United States. So, but the point I'm making is Ireland was still, I would have considered
a good option.
Great place to live. Great place
Yeah.
to live. Yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question, but look, there's stuff going on. I don't think many of us know what's driving it or who's driving it, but it seems to be linked. I've heard some people say this is the sort of the precursor to that world of UBI and AI that you alluded to earlier. I've heard other people saying this is just the opening act towards the fourth turning. I've heard some people say it's because of energy. Other people will tell you it's because of Chinese influence around the world. I don't know. I'm just a guy, but yeah, it makes me sad. I'm sorry if I didn't answer your questions.
No, I hear you. It's a multifaceted puzzle, and it's hard to know what's going on behind the scenes in like the puzzle palace, or how politicians get elected and then suddenly are marching to a different beat that was the same old boss. So, what my hope is, I think that Bitcoin fixes this, or is really beginning to fix this. They can't stop that, and that will start to heal a cancerous system. And not to belabor it, you can get down into conspiracy trails because you can imagine this and that and the other, or put it all together. Like, how does this make sense? Well, it's all one big cabal of lizard people. And of course, bad, horrible, evil things happen in the world. And you're like, wow, what's happening? You mentioned getting really into AI, and now you've been with me for an hour and a half now, and I don't want to belabor you, but we can winnow this down if you don't want to get into it, because here's another big topic: is that you're getting really into AI now. You're studying AI as much as Bitcoin, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, I look forward to. Well, so there's a lot there, but AI is changing the world.
Well, Bitcoin, to me, my approach to Bitcoin is pretty boring. I put every last cent that I could find into Bitcoin, and I don't trade it. So aside from having interesting conversations like this, there isn't really a lot for me to do.
You're already all in there, so
I'm all in.
Yeah,
I'm long term. I'm doing this for Sam.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing maybe a little bit for my retirement as well, but it's for Sam. But then you've got this other thing, this like concurrent thing happening, at least in my experience. Like the two seem to enter my life at the same time. And sometimes they drift apart, and sometimes they're finally woven together. And I just find both happening in tandem is incredibly interesting.
We live in an amazing time, and Bitcoin and AI just go hand in hand.
Yeah. Yep.
So
now, I don't know what your opinion of Michael Saylor is. I don't know what your listeners' opinion of Michael Saylor.
I'm not against him. I don't want to play those games or have more than my 80 IQ. I listened to his talk in Mina. I'm always impressed. He came from Mina and was hitting bank after bank. Guess what bank I'm at? He's the one who really helped orange pill me, other than my daughter and thinking about my life.
Yeah.
But all credit to Saylor. I love the guy. I just can't do the hustle. So.
Yep. I'm not I have no skin in that game. I've got no dry powder left. But where I was going with that was Musk and Saylor, I see as being the two main thinkers of our time. Like I kind of see those two guys as being the JP Morgan and the Carnegie or the Rockefeller ahead of the Gilded Age, right?
Yeah.
Their ideas, like I'd love to hear someone sit down with Sailor. If I ever had the pleasure of getting Sailor on my podcast, I would say to him, we're not talking about Bitcoin. You know, there's 10,000 videos if you're talking about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your ideas around physics and around, you know, the stuff that you studied at MIT and the stuff that you read about in your, if you've got any free time. Like, I think the man's just on a different plane.
Oh man, yeah, it's incredible.
So him and Musk together, like I'm not sort of putting Musk at the pinnacle of the AI. Well, actually, you sort of could make that case a little bit. There's a lot going on with AI. As a guy who was a programmer, here are my thoughts. I was writing little bits of very primitive AI code in 2000, 2001 academic year, and then 2001, 2002. And I think we kind of dropped it after that, but it was like very primitive. And so we were asked to write, like, we would submit a little bit of code, and then we would submit like an essay along with it. And like when you do a computer science degree, most of the guys in the computer science degree are writing, their essay is about the lines of code that they wrote. But like I would submit these 15-page essays where I was talking philosophy and, you know, not about the code at all. The code was relevant to me. The code bored me, but I was talking like about potential use cases, the ethical side of it, the conversations a lot of people are having today. I'm so excited. I thought that had gone, like I hadn't looked at it for years. And now, lo and behold, here we are again, and I love the topic. AI doesn't scare me. I know a lot of people feel threatened by it. They feel their income or their career could be threatened, or their kids. I don't see it that way at all. Like, I see it as opportunity. Like when we talk about AI ending people's careers and UBI, that's the direction we go in, right? AI is going to come along, and it's going to, millions of people are going to be out of work, but we're going to give them UBI and everything will be great. But we don't talk about the people that are going to develop the AI like products and services and the businesses and the people that are going to do really, really well out of this.
It's a huge opportunity. It's like the internet comes along. It's like, well, but what about all the telephone operators?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Change is hard. I get it too. And there are jobs that are going to feel it. There's going to whole industries are going to totally pivot and may not need the same bodies. But for any individual, you don't have to be too old to not be able to learn it. Man, AI offers so much. It's like having your own team of people to work for you.
But here's the thing, Fritz. The average person sits down at an LLM after having heard all of the prophecies about where we're going in the very near future, and they sit down at an LLM and they're like, the hell's all the hype about? You know, it's like, yeah, I can talk to this thing and I can get it to write an email for me, but I have to correct the email. And so I think and you can see this in the statistics, by the way, if you look at graphs of AI usage, because don't forget, if you deploy an LLM within a business or a system built around an LLM, you can see user statistics of how they use it, when they use it, how long they use it for, how often do they come back. And it's kind of, as 2025 went on, it was like fell off.
Oh,
now that could be because people have a bias towards it because they think it's coming for their job. But it could also be like these LLMs we're going to look back in a year or so and we're going to say, my God, they were primitive, because the things changing so quickly.
Yeah.
And then the other side of AI, you could probably call it robotics, maybe, but it's AI, is like I read a really long post today. I forget who it was from, that sort of talked about Tesla and where Tesla's going, and like I didn't know this until very recently that every Tesla car was capturing data in real time that was used.
For sure.
That was used because I just hadn't paid attention to Tesla, but I read about that today, and the line that struck me was that Tesla's moving from 4 wheels to 2 legs with the what's it called? His
the Optimus.
Optimus.
Yeah.
And sort of the projections around, like he can make that thing pretty well and pretty cheaply, and it was sort of speculating about how he could scale that very quickly. They've got that expertise, right? And the types of things that it could do in the near future. It's just
when you think about when a lot of people imagine like a robot, and they're thinking like the Jetsons era, just a robot at home that learns you and accommodates you, and you don't think of anything too crazy about that necessarily. What Elon has is layer upon layer upon layer of like these neural networks that are all talking to each other, collecting all the data, learning from each other and each of their, users or masters, what have you. You've got a neural network of cars and a fleet of driving things going on. You're going to have Optimists in various situations, learning how to do stuff, learning from others. You've got the access into space. You've got Starlink. You have, who knows about the neural net implant thing, whatever. But Elon Musk has captured a huge realm of like physical interface stuff that is incorporating AI everywhere. Then on the one hand, you got Elon. Now you have Saylor, who has all the hardest asset in the world, like unbelievably. What I want Saylor to do is to talk to Elon, because I think I like both of their philosophies on humanity.
Yep.
Fundamentally.
Absolutely.
And if they got together and had the money and the infrastructure, I see a golden age.
Well, I think they will be together. I think that's one of the things that'll happen pretty soon. Like they're conspicuous by their silence. They should be getting mentioned in the same articles that we read, but they're like miles apart. But I don't believe they're miles apart. Probably believe those guys talk pretty often. We're entering into a very exciting time. The only thing that sort of dulls my mood a little bit, Fritz, is who would have believed that the first main statement about AI would come from Bernie Sanders and that it would be so negative? He said that he wanted a moratorium on AI development because the very, very, very rich people are trying to, like, I'm a bit disappointed.
The oligarchs or whatever. Yeah.
I'm a bit disappointed in this administration so far, Fritz, in terms of Bitcoin and in terms of, things are happening with AI, but I would like there to be an AI czar that sort of talks to the people about what's coming, because you and I are really interested. We have that personality. We're looking at AI. We're excited about it. We're maybe thinking, how can we get on board with this? And it's exciting to us. But the average person out there, like the breakdown in communication around this thing. So the average person is sitting in a bar having a conversation with a guy beside them that's saying, "Oh, your job's going to be gone in 2 years." But then the administration are telling you, we're going to grow jobs. We're going to blah 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 blah, and the two worlds aren't seemingly connected.
Yeah.
I just wish there was a bit more. And the other observation I had, Fritz, you put a bunch of programmers and tech people in a room, and you put a bunch of people, let's say, investors, sort of capital markets people in a room beside them. All the people in the investor room are jumping up and down with excitement about AI and telling everyone, you have to learn, like you should be getting on board with this, because this is like in 2 years' time, it's going to be everywhere. And then you have the tech people in the other room going, hang on a minute. Are you basing those projections on these LLMs? Because these LLMs have some pretty severe limitations at this point. And the gap between those two rooms seems quite large to me. And the AI narrative, it appears to me, Fritz, all other technologies that I've observed, including Bitcoin, including cell phones, including lots of other technologies, they kind of start out in the weeds, right? With a little cluster of guys that get together and develop something, and then they go and they pitch it like Shark Tank, and then it kind of, it's a bottom up sort of a innovation or entrepreneurship. The AI narrative to me seems top down. It seems to me to be it's the C-suites that are kind of pushing this AI narrative, and the people that are down in the weeds, with the exception of one or two, they're kind of scratching their head going, where's the link between the LLMs and the AGI? Because we don't, like, they're seemingly worlds apart right now. That's kind of my observation about AI.
Yeah. And like I mentioned before about, like, with Bitcoin, like the tide, people can be feeling FUD about AI, but again, it's happening. It is here. It's coming. And you also don't want to be like second or last. And so, I mean, similarly, you have the geostrategic rush between, you could say, against China or other powers in the world. We need to have the infrastructure together so we can be there with it. And then I'll feel funny when we think about Saylor needing to talk to Elon. Elon posted, let me put this up here. Was this today? Yeah, it was this morning. Elon posts, "Energy is the true currency." And I commented on it, not like he's going to watch that, but I just was like, Elon, when are you just going to say the word Bitcoin? Like,
Yeah,
seriously,
I know.
Just say Bitcoin. Stop with the Doge, like he was talking Dogecoin years ago, and it's like, whatever. Yeah. But Elon, just go all in on Bitcoin, because you're either pretending or you're really just kind of making hard work to avoid it.
I think he's pretending. He's such a fantastic mind. I would almost rather hear nothing from Elon for 2 years, and then all of a sudden hear, by the way, what we tried back in 21 or 22, was it, where you could buy the Tesla with Bitcoin? That happened, right?
Yeah.
I would rather hear an announcement like it's here, instead of just a little soundbite on a podcast or on Joe Rogan or something. I think his silence, him and Saylor, is kind of, it gets me excited that they're silent, and I like to think there's something cooking that they're just going to announce, and it's going to be all at once. Like, can you imagine if Elon comes out and says, we're putting, like how many Bitcoin could Elon Musk go and buy at once, like smash buy?
He'll never catch Saylor. So that's the only thing Elon can do is buy it. So he's got to catch up now. So just imagine one guy like him starting to try to, now we know he owns a ton. He owns more than most everybody on the planet of Bitcoin for sure. But if he wanted to play the Saylor game, talk about the price of Bitcoin. Guys like Elon trying to get in on Bitcoin. That's when you get the Omega candles.
Yeah, I would push back a little bit on the notion that all he can do is buy it. If you apply the Jeff Booth really gave me pause to stop and sort of ask myself serious questions. Like, he kind of schooled me, which I'm very grateful for, by the way. He's a remarkable man. He's very intense, and he's very committed to his thesis. But if you apply that thesis, Elon Musk is the epitome of what Jeff Booth talks about, right? The deflationary nature of technological advancement. And Elon Musk pretty much has that nailed, right? So if he had the ability to produce things at scale relatively cheaply and then accept payments in Bitcoin, That's how he puts Bitcoin on his balance sheet.
Yeah, that's true.
At least that's how I see it, because
Yeah.
like to create, I keep forgetting the name of the robot that he's bringing out. It's like a
Optimus.
Optimus.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
$20,000
I've
starting
heard
out.
that. Yeah, or 20 or 30. Yeah, something like that.
It's cheap.
Yeah.
It's incredibly cheap. If it can do what we think it can do, a starting price of $20,000 or $30,000 is incredibly cheap. And if he starts to scale that, you could buy it in a few years for $10,000, and it's working 3 shifts for you, where you're bringing in your revenues coming in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And it doesn't need to sleep. If it comes in, swaps its battery, and walks back out, it's working all night.
Yep. So I wouldn't just rule out that Elon couldn't catch Sailor yet.
I can see that. He's got the infrastructure that can, the services are provided at a fee. And if so here's the circular economy part of it. Is it okay? Yeah, he doesn't have to buy it, but now it'd be like if a sovereign says you have to pay taxes in this, well, then people want that stuff to pay their taxes, and then they start exchanging it. Kind of some origin of money theory there. If Elon is saying you can pay in Bitcoin, or actually we prefer Bitcoin, or maybe you get a discount if you pay in Bitcoin, Bitcoin becomes, it trickles down from, not to say a sovereign, but from an authority that wants that in tithes. That then becomes the medium of exchange for people. They want Bitcoin. They're buying Bitcoin. They're using Bitcoin. And yeah, it's trickling to Elon. But then Bitcoin, it becomes more of that Bitcoin standard, perhaps.
Can you imagine if you woke up one day, and because you heard the allegation against Sailor, it's kind of gone away now, but during the summer when he was hitting the ATM and everyone was like, he was public enemy #1 through the summer.
Like the infinite money glitch thing. And
well, there was a lot of criticism, but one of the main criticisms during the summer was that they didn't have a cash generating business, that it was all hitting the ATM. Can you imagine if you get up one day and you see Elon Musk standing beside Sailor shaking hands on a new partnership where strategy has, gone into partnership with some spin-off SpaceX or Tesla company, and there's it wouldn't be a cash generating business, but it would be like, can you imagine the shockwaves that would send around the world if you saw that? Those are the types of things. I sometimes sit in that chair late at night, and when I'm done watching YouTube videos about Bitcoin, I'll turn the television off and I'll just sit quietly for a while before I go to bed. And that's the type of stuff I think about. Like we're living in a strange time, Fritz, because politically and in terms of society, we're kind of going in a depressing direction, right? But then technologically, wow, it's just really, really, really exciting, and it's like
the best of times and the worst of times. There's a dichotomy of like the paradox of some things you see having slid and gotten worse culturally or societally, and yet there's a golden age right at hand. And it's like, I feel like we're going to be there. It's just that like, we're not quite, we haven't crossed the chasm. I don't know.
Well, here's the truth, Fritz. I've been going to bed at about 3:30, 4 a.m.
I was going to say it's late for you right now.
And Sam's, driving a truck over my face at sometimes 6:30 or 7. But I've been doing that for a long time. And what I'm doing at nighttime when I get some peace is I'm sort of projecting forward 5 years and 10 years, looking back at myself now and thinking, man, why didn't you? This was where everything was figured out. this was the starting point where all of the innovation happened. Try to look back from a vantage point of 10 years and think, what could I have done? I can't go out and smash by a load more Bitcoin. But in terms of AI, oh man, it's almost, I sometimes meet, it's like information overload with ideas. I've thought about setting up, my master's was UX design, Fritz, so I could easily pivot into a consultancy where I could go into companies that have tried to implement an AI and there's no adoption. And I could very easily do that role as a consultant who comes in and helps them to get ROI from the sort of failing implementation that they've put in. I've thought about developing something. I've thought about writing a book about AI. I've thought about, like, there's just endless possibilities. And that's what I'm sitting up at night reading about and watching videos about. And I'm very, very, very excited for both Bitcoin and AI. And I think, like, I'm gonna sound like an idealist here, but as depressing as the European stuff is, I think Bitcoin and AI is kind of the life raft to climb into, not just for me or for Sam, but for I've got 6 siblings in Ireland, and if I could do something and figure it out, that maybe at some point, you know, if things really get bad back home, that I could do something for them as well. And they're like, it's kind of like
a life raft for family.
Yeah. And sometimes that, I actually asked Jeff Booth about that. I said to him, is it my responsibility to sort of, because I don't have an audience in Ireland. My audience for my podcast is in the US and Canada. And I sort of asked Jeff Booth, how do I orange pill Ireland? How do I show them?
Yeah. He was kind of like, you can't force it. They have to come to it on their own, right?
Well, you can't. Yeah, we know that from orange pilling. Sometimes when you see someone who really needs Bitcoin and you try to intervene,
they have to need it.
It generally doesn't end well. No one likes being told what to do. They have to sort of come to meet you. A certain distance. So yeah, but definitely I'm really excited. At 53, I turned 53 10 days ago, and man, before I found Bitcoin, I thought I was freewheeling towards getting into that chair and having a pipe and some bedroom slippers and just being out to graze. But like at 53 now, I'm really, really excited about what's ahead. And
it's lit a fire. We live in an amazing age. I like you. I can just sit back and think. My wife will be like, "Are you okay?" or whatever. I'm just like, I'm just, man, don't even get me started. Like what's on my mind right now. But it's like Prometheus gave us fire. It lit a fire in those of us that, you know, want to feel its warmth. It's like fire has been gifted to humanity. We now have fire. The whole world is changing, but not everybody's a cook yet. But we are at an amazing pivot point in humanity where in the long span of everything, it's like fire, the wheel, the printing press, the internet. Bitcoin is this new thing now, like that we have with humanity, where it's just like we are on the cusp of everything else in the future, and I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, I can't stop thinking about it either. And I sort of imagine that I piss off some of the OGs and the cypherpunks because I want more adoption. I want, you know,
and it's inevitable.
And you're not going to get the. You asked me about the technology adoption bell curve earlier, and partly because of my background, I'm interested in that, but it's also because it's time to cross that chasm and get to the mainstream and stop lurking in the shadows with this notion that we're going to set up an alternate world where we're whispering to each other so that people won't hear us. Like, screw that. I don't want to. I heard Gary Cardone say 2 years ago, and it's one of the most profound things I heard. he was talking about the Bitcoin strategic reserve. And he said, normally he could care less if they bought Bitcoin or not. But from a selfish standpoint, if this thing goes where he thought it was going to go, he made the point he didn't want to have to live in a compound with snipers on the roof because the rest of society had fallen apart.
I see.
So how do you get to the rest of society? If government's not doing it, banks,
Right.
Wall Street, and bring people in that way. Like it's a soft sort of an on-ramp where there has to be like a bait and switch happens at some stage where you grab them and you say, hey, see that part of your portfolio that's doing pretty well? You could probably take that away from that institution and like get proper Bitcoin and self-custody it. But like, I don't think that we were going to reach those masses by telling people, you transfer some money from your Chase account to Coinbase, and Chase are going to tell you, warning,
Right.
And then when you get to Coinbase, you're going to buy this, and you're not sure who you're buying it from, but you just have to kind of go with it. And then you're going to download this Sparrow wallet, and you're going to send a test transaction first, and then you're going to send the main lot, and then you're going to go and buy, one of these things.
Yeah.
And you're going to go through that rigmarole. And by the way, I can tell you, I have a master's in computing. That's not easy. That's not easy for the ordinary person. And then once you get these 12 words or whatever solution you're going for, like I don't think the average person wants to go through that. I think the average person, and here's the uncomfortable truth, Fritz, the average person trusts banks and trusts government. That's the truth.
Yeah.
And so to get to them, Wall Street and the banks are the conduit through which they're going to reach a wider audience. And sorry, I get passionate about that.
No, you're like me. You think like I do. And if anything, I can get on a track. Here's one thing I don't know if you relate to, but a little kind of litmus test for me is if I'm too caught up in some of this, it's when my little one is like, come on, daddy, play with me, read a book. And if any of that feels negative, I have to stop and back off and say, okay, I've got to balance my life and family with the inside of my brain. So she reminds me to stay engaged with life itself. And she keeps me young. If I was a bachelor hermit without a kid or my wife, I could be a nutty professor, but my family keeps me balanced. So,
and if I was single and not a dad, I would be driving cross country and saying, hey, Fitz, let's book a week solid where we go day and night and dive into these ideas.
Yeah.
But we have to live in the real world. And like earlier today, I was at a car dealership for 5.5 hours today. You know the story when you go there.
That sounds fun.
I'm in a lease that's up at the end of January.
Oh.
So I preempted. I wanted to go in ahead of time to give myself a little bit of more negotiating time.
Gotcha.
And we kind of look at what we want to do. Like the car, I have the tires. If I was keeping the car, I would have replaced the tires by now. The brakes are maybe starting. So I'm kind of thinking, and I wasn't sure if I was going to buy out the lease or give it back, and then I wasn't sure what I was going to replace it with. And the reason I'm telling you this story is throughout that whole, and that's a fairly intense 5 hours at the best of times, right? Because you're kind of trying not to get screwed, and you're trying to make a sort of a mechanical good decision as opposed to pushing the boat out of it and getting, during all of this time, I had this parallel thought going on where I basically had to ask myself, am I as bullish as I say I am? Like, what decision am I going to make today? That decision is going to be based on where I think Bitcoin's going for the next, it's a 3-year lease. So the guy showed me, I don't know if you're familiar, but a RAM 1500, is it RHO? It's the one that's between the TRX and the, it's a kind of a beast of a thing.
Let me check. I've heard of the Ram. I just
so the Ram is the work truck, but the higher trim ones are, I would say they're maybe not a high end luxury, but some of those pickup trucks are among as high end as you can. Yeah, there you go. So the guy makes me sit in this, and it's got leather and suede interior. It's got Harman Kardon speakers. It's got the moonroof. It's loaded. This thing is loaded.
Sounds nice.
Well, he's a salesman, and he made me sit in it, and he made me drive it, and he made Sam sit in it. He was hoping Sam would fall in love with it. But I'm kind of looking, and the lease that I'm in is a Jeep Grand Cherokee, the 3-row. And so I'm sitting looking at this pickup truck, but I'm also looking at this little Jeep Compass, which is maybe, I don't know, $32,000. It's kind of the lower end of things. And I'm going, the money I could save there in that payment could increase my DCA into Bitcoin. But then the other side of me is saying, what are you doing? Why are you skimping? Are you bullish or not about Bitcoin? Like, what's,
sure,
so, and the guy's talking to me about the residual value after 3 years, and he's talking dollars, and he's talking interest rates, and but I'm thinking in Bitcoin. Like it's a weird.
We go through that. There can be some funny. I've had this conversation with Robin Sayer when I was on Robin Sayer's podcast a couple of times. Most recently this fall, I guess. But it's come up, and in the Bitcoin community, if you will, there can be a lot of people being judgmental about, stacking your sats, or, if you hadn't bought those iPhones, you'd have so much Bitcoin, and all that kind of stuff. Kind of like, instead of laughing now and crying later, cry now and laugh later. You can psychoanalyze all of that to death. And you could stack and stack and stack and like not be happy on one extreme edge. You could also, go hog wild and never stack and cry later. There is a balance that I try to communicate to people. It's like, you don't want to get leveraged beyond your means or wrecked, or, everybody has a different timeline, or just a financial reality, if you will. And I'm like, life is for a couple of things, and that is both now and the future. And I'm just like, you know what? You see, like, oh, these OGs are selling their Bitcoin or whatever, because they don't even know where it's going in the future. People have put in their time. I am comfortable with the idea that even as I spend to live, and I know what quality is, I like to live a life of quality and not get over my skis on high maintenance, whatever I think I need to have. So I live modestly, but I like quality. And as long as I can do that and not lose my Bitcoin, or if possible, have enough dry powder to stack more, I think it's a balance, and you can do both. People get judgy about, like, that's a lot of sats you could have stacked. I'm kind of like, I stack anyway, or I have. And I also have a life, and I have a family, and we're going to go on a vacation. Well, that vacation costs you're going to go to Peru. You're going to go to Ireland. You're going to go to conferences. Our lives are enriched by the experiences we create. And you don't want to short that for what? You stacked Bitcoin, I guess, because you did. You stacked Bitcoin too.
It's an interesting discussion. I'm going through dental work at the minute. In the past 4 weeks, I've had 4 implants, and going in the start of February for 2 more. So that's obviously 6 crowns that need to go on.
Fun.
In 6 months' time. Like, if I was to listen to some people within Bitcoin, I wouldn't replace. Especially in the United States, a lot of Irish people in the United States are desperately self-conscious about their teeth. Irish people don't have good teeth. And you arrive in the States and everyone's got like veneers. And so some people would say to me, well, Sam, the cost of that dental, that number of sets when Sam's 50 years of age is a life-changing amount of money.
Yeah. How many sets was that?
Yeah, but I think where I'm going is, for a decentralized, freedom-loving community, we're very quick to impose rules on each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you have the people that never sell your Bitcoin. You don't spend your Bitcoin. It's generational, like save your bloodline. But I mean, if Sam adopted that attitude, and then Sam's kid adopted that attitude, what's the point? You've just put money, fiat money, albeit, that you could have used to better your life, and you've just put it out of reach, never to be used. Like, think, what do economists say about that? What causes deflation? Like, what happened the last decade in Japan? The older, richer people figured out, hey, if we don't spend our money, there's not going to be inflation. If we just sort of go back to a more primitive way of living. So, sorry, I kind of lost.
I hear what you're saying.
But then there's other people, and I've found myself at times saying to people, you bought a cup of coffee with sets? Are you nuts? Like, if you're going to buy something,
spend and replace. Yeah.
Like, if you're going to buy something worthwhile, so that when you look back at it in 20 years' time, it's not another pizza day.
Right.
Those are very interesting conversations. Like, I see different groups. I'm kind of, and you're probably the same, Fritz. We didn't get to this thing super early. So we want to huddle for as long as we can to get some of those gains.
Yeah.
The OGs got a lot quicker, right, back in the day.
We all feel late, and yet we are quite early. So
we're all early, but
yeah.
Our time preference has to be a little further out, right? That's the reward for getting here earlier, that some of the OGs could have bought and sold within a 2-year period and never looked back, like they're wealthy, whereas we have to sort of think longer term.
Yeah.
There's lots of different viewpoints and lots of standpoints, but where I kind of pacify myself with it, Fritz, is Bitcoin's just there sitting in the corner, like watching all of this going on, and it's unchanged. It's the constant. It's just the circus that goes on around it. Bitcoin's oblivious.
Yeah.
Like such a thing of a real beauty, and to be so consistent over the 17 years so far, and probably for the next 117. Yeah, we're like, it's kind of like the Big Bang, and we're little bits of, there's some large rocks circling pretty close to it, and then there's other little bits of rocks that get spun out, and then there's moons going around the bits of rocks. It's kind of like that. We're all around this thing with our opinions and our strategies and our ideologies, but ultimately what's at the center of it all, yeah, what an amazing.
Yeah, I've got a similar parallel story thinking of dental stuff. Is so 2 days ago, my daughter went to the dentist, kind of checking on things. She's just got baby teeth, but they did her first x-rays to kind of see how things are going to go on, because she's got a small jaw, and we can already tell like her baby teeth are tight. And the dentist from the get-go already, they're like, yeah, she is going to need braces. Like, she has adult teeth starting to come in, and they're coming out already snaggletooth.
Yeah.
So like I have other boys, one of which had to have braces, and others had good teeth naturally. And my daughter, I'm already seeing it coming. It's like some years down the road, we are like, okay, we've got to do braces. Now, who am I to say, honey, that's just a lot of Bitcoin. I mean, she can eat, right? She can eat. She'll floss more, or, what is a mouth? What is, she's pretty on the inside. No, we're going to get her braces, and that's going to suck, but she's going to be an adult with teeth that she's gonna feel confident about. That's just what she'll want, what I want, and it's okay.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of interesting, Fritz, that not to criticize, but it's kind of interesting that some of the same people who would say to me, Sam, you should never sell a set and let, give it all to Sam. Some of those people are the same people who will then say to you, I got on IRAN, but then I reallocated over to Cypher. And there's a little bit of MSTR action going on, and NACA, and some of them even went to Zcash. And then in the same breath, they're saying to me, a maxi who put every last thing that I have into Bitcoin, they're sort of saying to me that I should feel guilty if I'm going to put in a few implants that have gaps in my teeth that I'm very conscious about. So I generally, one of my feelings in life, Fritz, is that I don't like people telling me what to do. I'm a
little rebellious myself. Yeah,
I'm a stubborn bastard. I'm not easy to be married to.
It's good to recognize.
Well,
you can be right or you can stay married. That's kind of a thing.
Yeah, I've had to learn that.
Yeah.
But I see that part of my personality as being, I'll latch on to something. One person will call it stubbornness, but I would call it like, maybe I'm a little bit of obsessive about Bitcoin, but maybe that's not a bad thing. There's a lot to think about, but I try to take something from, like, you've heard of the Doomers and you've heard of the TradFi guys and you've heard of the cypherpunks, and there's a lot of different sort of subcultures within Bitcoin. I don't want to be in any subculture. I kind of, there's a lot of wisdom out there from lots of different people.
Yeah.
I've only really run into one or two people who I can't handle, and I try my best to avoid. Just one or two. So even people that I'm sort of, that I can't agree with everything that they say, I still try to, because it's decentralized. The whole concept is that you don't have an entity sort of towering over you, determining that you're. Anyway,
like what tribe do you belong to? Are you for or against this thing? You're either on one side or the other of that. Oh, you say you're maxi, yeah, but how maxi? Are you double maxi? Are you triple maxi? You're not maxi unless you do this, that, and the other. Or I totally get it. So, yeah.
I'll give a little example. Fritz, I was on a space last week, and about 2 weeks ago, I was on a space where we were having the conversation about. I think the conversation started with Sealer and the debt versus the value of the asset.
You're right.
So then people were talking about leverage, not in terms of trading, but leverage in terms of stacking. So I share this pretty often. When I went maxi, I was sitting here trying to figure out, because I'm a stay-at-home dad with Sam. I was sitting here trying to figure out ways that I could stack more, and DCA wasn't an option for me because Sam doesn't pay me. Now, I was in the fortunate position where I could do it, but I need to go back to work soon. But anyway, I'm sitting here and the credit card checks start coming through the door. 0% interest for 12 months. And I'm kind of looking at where I think Bitcoin's going, and I cash a check and I put it into Bitcoin. And then after that, I sort of thought a lot about that. Other checks came, and I cashed 2 checks into cash, put them in my bank account, and sat on it. So that was the spring of 2024, and I was quite proud of myself because I was never disciplined like this before. That dry powder sat there, and it sat and it sat and it sat and it sat, and it was pure luck in the end that I got to buy Bitcoin at 49,000. So there's a part on the top of my stack that I bought at 49,000. The debt, the 0% was running out in December of 24. Another check came through the door. I did the balance transfer. So transferred that 0% over and kicked it out. It's kicked out now to the spring of 27. So anyway, and I figured out that it's costing me 8% a year. So if Bitcoin does more than 8% a year, I'm good. But I happened to be talking in a space recently, and I said in the comments, and it really bugged me, like it annoyed me. He hit a nerve. He said in the comments, why are we listening to this guy? This guy's got his home equity and he's maxed out on all his credit cards. We shouldn't be listening to this guy. And I said, that's called being a maxi. Do you know what I mean? That I'm doing what sailors doing on a minuscule level. I'm doing probably what the miners do, where they have to go under for a certain amount of time before they start to get their profits. So there's a lot of different. You need to have a tough skin if you're going to be communicating with other Bitcoiners. You need a tough skin, because there's always someone has something to say.
An iron gut. And some of the, like on the X community, like people reading into a tweet you make about Powell, and people just want to jump on it and it's little power plays or ego things or whatever. But man, I know, I hear you. I follow an account, and I've bookmarked certain things because he laid out his playbook, which was the circulating credit card thing, and basically doing the math and having an iron gut and sticking to your base principles and being that triple maxi. And he was just like, this is my formula. And as long as he's like, I've got so much of a runway. But as long as it's not just, so much percentage a year, but so much overall percentage over, like, say 5 years, worst case, I don't really quite break even, maybe whatever, or I had to do all this extra work and kind of try to stack more. But knowing where we know the math goes with Bitcoin, you're talking in hindsight, it'd be that feeling of like, I should have been crazy like we are. I don't want to be in the future looking at my past self, like you think about, like a future self looking at me now going, I could have done more, should have done more. But
do you remember the NerdWallet advertisement from 2023, I think?
NerdWallet?
Yeah.
I don't think I saw that.
NerdWallet is I don't know what type of, it's a fiat wallet as far as I know, but it kind of offers, I don't know, I think there's some like financial literacy that goes on, tagged on. I'm not sure what it is. But the advertisement haunted me before I found, it was just before I found Bitcoin, and there was night after night I could hear the jingle from that advertisement, and there's a black guy at the end of it with his wife in the background, and they're singing, "Don't make your future you hate you." And that's kind of where I got to that place where I projected into the future, looking back and thinking, well, like if Bitcoin moons, absolutely, of course, I should have cashed every check come through that door. But if it falls through the floor, obviously I'm the idiot in the room. So we all have that decision to make. I'm not
every Thanksgiving, it's, if it's brought up at all, it's your family going, so here's what's funny is it like, oh, so Bitcoin's down, huh? I mean, that would be like kind of the silliest case, but it's like, well, how's your Bitcoin? And you're like, okay, this year, I mean, volatility and all that, and it's down from its high. Now compared, like, so for me, it's like, do you remember 3 years ago from now when I gave you some Bitcoin as gifts and you were kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Do you remember what the price was 3 years ago? It was about, it bottomed out about 16,000 or whatever that was. But I mean, it might've been 20,000. So is Bitcoin up or down? It's up. But yeah, this year's been a wonky crab walking thing.
It's been very strange. I hark back to August, September, as we started to get towards Q4 and I was on spaces where people were just having fun. You know, there was nothing more to it than that. It was just fun, talking about end of year predictions. And so the most bearish among the bulls was 130K. We were probably at 115 at the time. I was 175. There was guys at 250. There were some of the institutions and some of the really big names that were even bigger than that again.
Sure.
I don't think there was too many people that thought we were going to finish this year down. It looks to me like it could be. Well, at this moment in time, it's a red year, which is confusing everyone because the 4-year cycle guys are going, well, hang on a minute. Does this break the 4-year cycle because it's not green, green, green? And actually, before the halving, the all-time high came. So that's kind of skewing things. I think all of this is going to be revealed. Again, this is happening, and I think you remember Michael Saylor said, I'm not sure if it was the summer gone by or summer 2024. It was a little quip at the end of his speech. He said, when Godzilla enters the playground, all your models will be broken.
Yeah, Bitcoin breaks all models. Yeah.
So is the front end of 2026 where all the models get broken? You could make a case that a lot of the models are broken right now.
I think, and I wonder what you think about this. Bitcoin breaks all models, and our cycle's over. I kind of feel like cycles have been over. It's just that timings of things, and between COVID and the ETFs and other things, they appear like cycles, but then we're trying to make sense of past performance indicating the future. I'm thinking cycles are over. We just still see volatility.
Yeah, but you're not going to get up one day and see the heading in the front of the New York Times saying, announcement, the 4-year cycle theory is over.
Yeah.
It's not. That's not how it's going to go down. You're probably going to be able to look at a chart, and it's subjective, right? And if you're of the mind that there's a 4-year cycle, you're probably going to be able to draw some lines and say, look, it's still holding the stock to flow still. But then if you have an alternate, you'll probably be able to draw some lines. And because here's the thing, if the 4-year cycle theory is dead, and in the next cycle, if we happen to get what's a fairly standard 25 or 30% dip in the middle of a bull market, the 4-year cycle guys could say, look, we told you. And they're actually saying that right now. Like a lot of them are saying that this is winter, as they call it.
Yeah.
It remains to be seen, and that's kind of what I meant, Fritz, about when the foot comes off the hose pipe.
Yeah.
And just leave this thing to its natural devices again. We're going to find out. I'm of the mind that I'm with Michael Saylor, to be very honest.
Yeah.
And others like him who have said, what's he calling for? CAGR of 30%.
Yeah.
For the next 20 something years, and then maybe you'll dip to 25, and maybe you'll dip to 23 and 21 and 20. And I'm kind of that mindset. Like, do I think there's going to be another 75 or 80% drop? I find it hard to believe when you look at the institutional adoption and the consistency of the ETFs. Kind of to me suggests, and those institutions who can print money, they're going to be all over it if it starts to go down there, right? They're probably all over it right now.
Yeah.
So you're going to find support long before you get to those types of dips. And I think the idea that this thing's going to sit for a full year, sort of falling to an end of year 60%, I don't think that's. But will you still be able to look at will you still get people who, because there's a certain self-fulfilling prophecy to this, you're still going to get people selling at a, they'll probably have the calendar marked at 2:06 on December the 8th, whatever year, that's my signal to sell, just that,
Yeah.
because that's so long. And you'll probably see a little bit of a dip at that time. I don't know, it remains to be seen, but I think we're going to find out. And personally, I'm kind of with Samson Mao.
December 26th, I guess we can see what happens there, huh?
Well, December, I don't know if I would call for anything massive to happen right away there, because the institutions will be mostly asleep or vacation. But I expect an all-time high by Valentine's Day. Once we've had a bit of business being done in Q1, I think lots of things are going to happen in Q1. This administration are still sort of teasing stimulus. Well, they've given stimulus to certain groups already, but there's bigger stimulus coming. I don't know if it comes in the form of citizens' share of the tariff money, or how it comes. But liquidity's coming back. For better or worse, the economy is going to improve at both ends of that K, right? Through 26. It kind of has to. So yeah, I'm of a mind that maybe I'm a romantic, but when Samson Mao talks about those candles, I'm like, hell yeah, Samson, tell us more about those candles, because who's to say, like, who can say that that's not going to happen? We spoke about Elon Musk.
I love Samson. I love Samson, and none of this being financial advice whatsoever, but I feel excited for 2026. I think that's a real year where, on one hand, stuff has to break loose, and on the other hand, kinks unkink and flow occurs, and Bitcoin will still run.
I'll say it a little simpler. I think Wall Street are going to boot out the irresponsible traders, and I think they're going to lobby to put pressure on the institutions that are allowing people to do that leverage trading, and I think it's going to clean up a lot of the murkiness.
Gotcha.
I think that's because they have the influence to do it.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that Larry Fink's the guy that lifted the phone and called the White House and said, SEC has to approve these ETFs. And very shortly thereafter, they were approved. Like, these are people who have the money and the power to exert pressure on others if they so wish.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very bullish.
Yeah, me too.
I have to sometimes talk with myself because I can't share that bullishness, because, as you say, when you go to Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, there's always that one person that if there's a little bit of a dip will say to you, you were a bit carried away with that Bitcoin stuff. But yeah, I'm very bullish. I've never been anything but bullish, Fritz.
Yeah.
From I got into it, like, even if there was a 50% dip, I'm still bullish. You either believe in the thing or not, because everything else is just other people's valuation of it, and a currency that's insane. So
yeah, and Saylor has another quote that always stuck with me too, is like, the first nation just to start printing its fiat to buy Bitcoin wins. And so imagine if it's just some random company that decides to up and go do that, and it triggers off something between nation states to be like, they're going all in now, folks. And now we don't want to be last. We were playing a quiet, careful game, watching the territory, kind of doing all the things, and now they're going. So it's kind of like, they move first. Musical chairs, don't be last.
I was on a space earlier, and someone asked me directly, what do you think the impact of Wall Street being here will be? And I came up with I don't know if it's a very good sort of a theoretical example, but let's pretend we're sitting in Vegas and we're around a poker table. And if it's the usual crew, Fritz is going to win one night, and I'm going to win the next night, and our friends are going to win the night. It's going to be the same money sloshing around because we all like gambling, right? I'll be down one night, you'll be up. Ultimately, the house will win because we're whatever buying food or staying in the rooms. But Wall Street comes and sits down at the table, and you're looking around after an hour or two of playing poker, and I'm looking at your chips on the table. I'm looking at my chips on the table, and they're kind of going up and down as the night goes on. And you look over at Wall Street's chips, and regardless of how the cards fall, their chips keep going up. Why? You sort of go to investigate what the hell's going on, and you see that there's a busboy walking in and out from the lobby, and out in the lobby there's a machine that prints chips. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Like they can come in and they can decide. Do you know what I mean? That's what I think Larry Fink meant by the influence. Bitcoin is heavily influenced by leverage players. I think that's what I think that was a Freudian slip, Fritz. They have the power, the ability to print money, the influence. They can control the narrative.
Yeah.
To force these other people. And look, ultimately, if some of these other actors do get forced out, I want to know what happened in 1010. Was it Wall Street, or was it? There's a name on everyone's lips. I don't want to say it in exchange.
Yeah.
Who was it? Let's find out. And this thing about Wall Street being reckless and sort of bullying other people, well, guess what? If they get wrecked, Bitcoin still survives.
Yeah.
I would rather have the mass adoption arriving through Wall Street and some of those Wall Street institutions collapsing because they got greedy and going through a big dip and coming out the other side with that wider adoption still there, than to not have. I think we had stagnated. I really do. I think retail, everybody was saying retail's not here yet, retail's not here yet. My theory was retail wasn't coming. Retail wasn't coming. We don't have a marketing department. The best that we can do is to whisper in their ear, hey, you have to jump through all these hoops to get this thing into your self-custody, and it's too scary for people, the average person.
Yeah. We have our own noise chamber, but I feel it every day when, I'll talk to friends or family or coworkers or whatever. And even after years, there are people that just are like, yeah, I don't know what, what's the politics? What's the big game lately? Catching football. I'm not against that stuff. It's just that it's still beyond a lot of people. So I don't fight it. And like Jeff Booth said, they have to need it. They're not needing it. So they're just coasting, same old game. So.
Yeah. Anyone who lived through 2008, if you were to ask them about, how things can go from pretty okay to very scary, I would have had a PhD by now. I was actually kind of started a PhD. It hadn't officially started, but I had started from home preparing for it, and the funding got cut. It was to be a PhD studentship where I was going to get a salary for, I don't know, it was 5 years to work on a project. And that was the result of the GFC. So, yeah, the people that tell you they're fine. My answer to that, Fritz, is, and I don't want to be judgmental, but my answer to that is, have you seen the stats around the amount of antidepressants?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Alcohol use.
Yeah.
Like, the average person doesn't step forward and say, holy shit, I'm not handling things very well. They go and have a few beers, smoke some weed, go to the doctor for pills, but everything's fine.
Yeah, we've normalized cope,
Yeah.
It's like a slightly comfortable cope, but we also see all the deteriorating things, so.
Yeah, and there is deterioration. Like I mentioned, that K-shaped economy. There's a lot of people. I cycled across the United States, Fritz, when I came here from San Francisco to New York. I followed highway. I know the northern tier leaves Oregon.
I-84.
Is it Astoria, Oregon?
Yep, Astoria to I-84 through Idaho.
Yeah, and it would kind of come down then once over the Rockies. So I followed 50. So I left San Francisco, picked 50 up in Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
And that's 9 years ago. And I was shocked by some of the towns that I saw. Like, and I would talk to people in the towns along the way, and they would say, oh yeah, like, you know, crime's up, but that's because we had to let 2 cops go last year.
The mill shut down, whatever.
One guy said to me, the main street or the downtown, there was a shoe store, a butcher, fruit and veg guy, yada, 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 yada. Instead of being their own business owner in the little downtown, they're out on the side of the interstate in the Walmart, working in the fruit and veg part, working in the shoe part, working in the, and they're getting a wage, but the little bit of profit, this guy's quote was, that little bit of profit is going through the fiber optics all the way to, he blamed New York. But there's an element of truth to that like there's people getting by on a wage. There's a lot of those towns. It's quite shocking out there when you, it's not all Manhattan and you know.
Oh, I can imagine you got a lot of stories to tell about that journey, I'm sure. What a life experience.
Yeah, I was a bit of a card, Fritz. I avoided cities. I think Sacramento actually was about the biggest that I was in. But I had a great experience going through small towns, met some great people. I did it on my own, unsupported. And summer of 2016, Trump and Hillary, Black Lives Matter.
Oh boy.
There was police shootings. There was the homophobic nightclub attack in Orlando. There was, that summer was crazy. But I was out there sometimes with headphones and listening to Neil Young, and other times just, you know, kind of meditating as I cycled. And thankfully I avoided a lot of that. Yeah, interesting.
Where did you end your journey? Where did you land?
Central Park.
Central Park. Wow.
Yeah.
And you got there probably 10 and strong and
oh man. Yeah, I actually still have some marks on my neck where the sun left permanent.
Wow.
But yeah, I was 135 pounds. Yeah, it was
wow.
in good shape. And I got married. That was August when I arrived in New York. I got married that October and moved permanently to New York. And by St. Patrick's Day, I was 172 pounds. So I put on 37 pounds.
Wow.
Over the winter. But yeah, that experience, I kind of knew that summer that I was moving to the United States, and I wanted to see the country that I was moving to. I didn't want the television and the internet to be my perception of what it was like. So I got to see
more of it than most Americans have ever seen.
I didn't see any major cities, but I saw like lots and lots of small towns. There was a small town in Missouri on the river, Boonville, which was really, really, really interesting. Like, it was a really prosperous place back in the day, a kind of a crossroads, and it had been through its decline and had come back because the city had obviously incentivized the restoration of buildings or whatever. Yeah, lots of interesting places. I wish I had the time to do it again.
Yeah, or like as we get older, and I find myself, last time I changed a diaper and I get up from off the carpet, I'm like, oh, like, am I old? But anyway, yeah.
So you kind of let me almost know your age earlier. Yeah, I'm guessing you're 2 or 3 years younger than me.
Yeah, I'm 49. I'll be 50 next year. Yeah, next summer.
Yeah, so I was 5 weeks off 51 when Sam was born. 53
Yeah.
now. It's kind of that age where, I don't know, here's an interesting conversation, Fritz. Gen X doesn't get mentioned much in Bitcoin conversations.
Mm.
You'll hear about what's going on with Gen Z, millennials. Jack Mallers, a great voice for millennials.
Yeah.
And then you'll hear all the hate towards the poor boomers. Man, they get it. I would hate to be a boomer. They get it very unfairly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But you generally don't hear anything about our generation, right?
You know, my sense of it is I've always kind of thought that when I'm at conferences or when I meet Bitcoiners, it seems like most of us are Gen X. Doesn't it seem like most Bitcoiners are Gen X? And then the younger generation is more kind of ready and willing to, they want something different. The Mallers and the others, and so there's definitely a decent chunk of millennials. I think there's a question about adoption rates by Gen Z, and then boomers real hit and miss. Like your Larry Lepard and older folks. Sometimes they're already on a timeline where they've got what they got and they don't want change. They're kind of being real conservative about it. I don't know. What do you think the average Bitcoiner is? More millennial?
Oh no, I think you're right. Gen X.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting though, like the boomers, not to stereotype them, but boomers are really the store of value people, right? They have, as you say, they have something to deploy, and I think their concern is mostly hedging against inflation,
Risk.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've heard all the stats around like Gen Z having I had to dive into this a little bit, Fritz. I was working for a market research company. I was in there. They had a social listening. They actually bought out the social listening company that I was working for, and they had a little bit of very primitive AI that they ran over social media chatter to kind of give market indications or whatever. So that's when I learned about Gen Z thinking a completely different way. Maybe don't have even the aspiration to ever own a home, or to do the things that we aspired to. The millennials are kind of caught in the middle where some of them raised by the older Gen X's or boomers, I guess, where they saw mom and dad having successful careers and the house and the vacations and yet they're they have a foot in the problem as well, where they can't ever sort of please their parents to the same level as, like, I think most people try to aspire to their parents, right? And I think millennials feel that disconnect. Whereas Gen Z are just out there going, well, the world's screwed. What do we care? We're just going to have fun. We're going to go traveling. Who wants to own a house anyway? So it's really interesting. Something that I would like to see. And I think I found a guy. British Huddle.
Yeah.
British Huddle shared a video of a new podcaster. Now, he seems to be a recent graduate he knows his finance and he knows his markets. I'm going to guess he's 22, 23, and he's podcasting. I want to see more of them people, because we talk about them. We don't talk to them. They're not in the circles that we're in. I would love to see some of them come through the door. We kind of look on Jack Mallers as the kid. Right? Jack Mallers is going to be 32 in the spring. I would love to see an 18, 19, 20-year-old come to the fore that speaks to that generation.
Yeah.
But so far, I would love to see more women come to the fore. We have a real lack of balance between women and men in the space. And look, I think the truth of the matter is, I know it was true in my situation before I found Bitcoin. women are probably better at managing money. That would be my theory. But yet they're not in Bitcoin. Generally they're not.
Yeah. And sometimes, well, you think about technology, and like when I was a kid, I mean, all the computer nerds like I was were all the boys, and or gaming, gaming. Often it's a very male dominated space. I think with younger generations, there are more and more women that are into what the boys are into. For our generation, computer nerdery or money, the technical aspects of money, perhaps finance, pretty male dominated. I think maybe that's changing. More and more women are getting into it, and have a different perspective too. Makes me think of like relationships, like perhaps with your wife or with my wife. I can go in and on with my Bitcoin stuff and talk, and my brain is just all in. Like I'm just thinking about this. This is like my passion. She's not against it. She's learned, but she's also sort of generously supportive, or like I have to know how much to dose her with, because I could go on and then I have to be respectful of her, like glazing over, like, I love you. Like there can be too much. But I would like to see, yes, more young people, more women. I think it's coming, and that could be generational, or as people get older and start thinking that. Like I wasn't thinking about investing so much in my, teens or 20s so much. As you get older, and I think kids are just looking at the landscape going, well, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Like, what's real? Well, Bitcoin follows rules and can be as real as you want to study it. So,
yeah, the adoption is interesting. Like I hear Americans talking about how far behind the curve Europeans are.
I've heard that.
So I lived in Europe until I was 42. I didn't really ever think about it. I heard about the markets on the news. It was just like, well, that's the markets. What about the sport? It was just a segment on the news.
Yeah.
Didn't matter. Didn't really matter to me because I had no skin in the game. I didn't have to have skin in the game, because the truth is, in the Ireland that I grew up in, well, as an adult, the state takes care of you when you're old, worst case scenario. Now, you mightn't have much of an existence, but you're going to get, you get what's called a medical card. Now, you may have to wait 8 months on a scan, but the state will pick up the tab for that scan. You get assistance if you want to continue to live in your own house. If your partner or spouse has died, the government will pay for people to come in, get you out of bed in the morning, put you into bed at night, make sure you're taking your medication or whatever. There's all kinds of services. There's a free transport pass for public transport. There is a fuel allowance for the winter. So you're not going to be destitute.
You can subsist, but yeah, you can feel like I'll be fine.
But if you put a little bit away, and if you're in a house that you own by that stage, and you've put a little bit away, you can have a reasonably good retirement without ever having to play the game, the stock market game, or whatever. And then when I came to the States, I was like, why the hell? Everybody's a trader. Everybody knows every move the market makes. Why is that? And then when I started to learn about, I looked at my first paycheck, and then I looked at, I thought when I had health insurance, oh, that's it. You don't have to pay for a thing.
Yeah, it's the best system money can buy.
Yeah, and then I got a shock when I went and, got something, and there was the copay, and you had to get to the deductible, and like I started to. It's very hard for you to look at an economy from another country, or if you go there on vacation and you think, wow, these people are doing well, you don't know what they're paying for health insurance. So I had to learn that when I came here, and I very quickly learned, that's why everybody's talking about, that's why people are talking about their 401k.
Gotta hustle.
Yeah, you have to, right? because, well, especially now, you could feasibly work your whole life and have nothing. And I think more and more people are going to be in that situation.
Yeah, I think there's boomers that are facing a kind of a quiet crisis where it's like, oh, like I'm poor, you know. And that's where I also worry about UBI. Is it for young kids? For some young kids, it could be that, well, things are not good. I know Elon's been talking lately about more like high basic income. The math on that, I'm cynical about UBI generally, just because I think psychologically, culturally, it short circuit that sense of like, get out there and do things. If you're kind of like, no, I'll be fine. I get my UBI, so I don't have to do anything. Or if I actually if I make too much, I'll lose it. So it could incentivize just doing the minimum. I don't know.
You know what the truth is about UBI, Fritz? I think.
Tell me about it.
I think it'll work for about 2 years. And then the younger Bernie Sanders will come to power and he'll say, hey, that Fritz guy shouldn't be getting that amount of money. We're going to cut back on Fritz's UBI. He doesn't deserve it. We're going to means test you. You've got a nice bit of property there. Poor Sam over there in New York doesn't have a garden. We're going to move him out to the suburbs. And then you'll swing back 2 years later where maybe Trump's baron will come in and say, no, that's unfair. Fritz can have as much land as he likes. And the other thing is, if Wall Street, if we haven't fully moved to a hard money standard, what's going to happen with UBI? We're going to start trading it.
Yeah,
we're going to start selling it to try and increase it, to use the return on the investment to fund other things.
Right.
So look, it's very interesting when people talk about AI and they say, oh, it doesn't matter about the jobs, like UBI, that's it. It's just magic. It's not going to be that simple. The same human characteristic traits that led to where we are now with a fiat system, those same people are going to exist. I assume we're still going to have Nancy Pelosi's, who retire out of Congress with,
Yeah, how'd that money get made? And politicians will promise stuff too. Like, how do you get elected unless you promise free stuff? So they get into office and like there's all this incentive in the world to print the money to get the stuff, and the people vote for, I want more free stuff. I don't understand the system, but it's unfair. I want more stuff. So they vote for it.
We've been going a long time, and it's very late to introduce politics, but
yeah.
In Prague last year, I had a really interesting conversation. I had lots of really interesting conversations. Could have met Saylor if I had Bob Burnett on my podcast, and I told him I was going to Prague, and with his association with Ocean, they had an after party on a boat on the river in Prague, and I was invited. And nice. I didn't go because I was sitting on a beanbag outside the conference center talking to a couple of Germans about, deep down a rabbit hole about Bitcoin. But one of these Germans said to me, what happens in a world where all of the Bitcoin has been mined and the same way today that we know what Elon Musk is worth and what Jeff Bezos, we know the list of the top 50 or 100 wealthiest people in the world, right? Well, this guy's theory was we're going to know who the largest Bitcoin holders are, right? So he suggested that a combination of human nature and politics, I guess, those people are going to want to meet once every year or two. Because who else are they going to talk to, right? So if you're one of them and I'm the other, and let's say there's 98 others, let's say the top 100 meet, and you meet in a hotel in Vienna, in a big banquet room, and we're going to talk about our situation and the world around us. Maybe I'm in Argentina and you're in Oregon, and well, at some point during that meeting, some guy's going to stand up and say, "Hey guys, did you see that terrible famine that happened in Arizona? Still happening. I propose that we give 2 coins each to help the people in Arizona." And then a guy sitting beside me will stand up and say, "Hell no, there's no free benefits from us." Well, that's the origin of a new political spectrum within Bitcoin, where you'll have some people, and I think you can see that in some of the boomers now, actually, where they have a conscience towards Gen Z and future generations for how the currency has been debased. They almost feel, you'll hear Senator Cynthia Lummis mention that when she talks about what motivates her. But then you'll have other people who are living in the compound with the snipers on the roof, and they're quite happy and they don't care. The movie The Purge,
right?
Where for one night screw society, and some people shut themselves in until morning. But like that's the origin of a new political spectrum, and will those opposing voices pull themselves apart?
Interesting.
Those are the types of conversations you'll have in Prague, Fritz. Whereas I think mostly the conversations you have in the States are, is Saylor right about the 30% CAGR, or is it going to go to like, what if they cut rates? And it's very, 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 very monetary, the conversation.
Yeah, like baseball stats or the sports, or it's knowing the stuff and talking about the stuff, but it's like interpreting the ripples and the waves against the tide.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, you'll have interesting conversations. I had a long conversation with a guy, another German, and at the end of the conversation, I said, "Hey, what's your handle?" And he was like, "Handle?" And I said, "Yeah, are you on X?" And he said, "No, I never ever go on anything like that." And this guy had been through, grew and sold 2 tech companies, never been on X, never been on, no time for it whatsoever. And I said to him, "Well, it's just like, it was a good conversation. It would have been good to be connected." And he says, "I'll see you next year in Prague." So that's the kind of people you meet. And then, of course, he has a year's worth of conversation to have with Bitcoiners, because, other than watching YouTube videos, he's alone with his thoughts for the rest of the year. So,
yeah, quality over just the noise. And maybe it's a time preference thing. I don't know. Speaking of time, we're over 3 hours, man. I'm amazed. This has been a marathon. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and I appreciate you giving me your entire night. It's like 2 a.m. where you're at, so bedtime.
Here's the thing, Fritz. I have so much to learn about Bitcoin, and I hope it's never ending. Like, never mind going back through previous years to sort of back through the catalog of events that happened, and like some people will mention an exchange that blew up, assuming that I experienced the pain of it, but I only got here in the fall of 2023. So
remember Mount Gox? I'm like, yeah. Anyway,
I have to go back and not only read about Mount Gox, but to try and understand the pain and try to build some empathy regarding what that must have been like for the people that I'm having conversations with today. And then there's rabbit holes that, like, there's entire rabbit holes that I haven't even looked into yet, never mind go down. So I value conversation is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, this is great. I love the deep dives, the rabbit trails we follow. This is why I do it. We don't always get to have the deep conversations. So
there's people out there like Tomer who talks about the, I could listen to that guy for hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other people who bring the TradFi stuff. And then there's like Jeff Booth. I could listen to for hours. Like, it's just, but where do you get all these hours? Where do you get these hours when you've you have a 4-year-old, I have a 2-year-old, and
I know.
And you're trying to keep laundry done and keep the car serviced and
When you do what we do and you've got a little one, it's like burning the candle at both ends, but we're burning twice as bright. So, I mean, I love it. So it's great.
So the theory for me, we're heading towards wrapping up, and you asked me about, my son orange pilled me.
Yeah.
So after I went maxi, so both Jesse and I were born in other countries. It's kind of unusual. We both love the US, and we're raising Sam to be, he'll know that he's a little bit Irish, a little bit Peruvian, but we're raising him to be American and to be proud of that fact. But he has no uncles or aunts here. He has no cousins here. He has no grandparents here.
Right.
I'm 53 and he's 2. So if you do the math, so when I got to be maxi and then I started thinking about what his life is going to be like, I think I very quickly realized that him walking into a lawyer's office and hearing that his old man left him a bunch of, Bitcoin or sats or whatever, I don't think that was going to be enough, because there's lots of famous stories about people inheriting a lot of money, and when they didn't have the guidance along with it, they just went nuts, and they would probably have been better off if they hadn't inherited. So I think I realized pretty quickly, it's not just my education. I need to get him integrated into this thing. It's not just about passing over the sats. I need to get, I can't impose it on him now. He's 2 years of age, but that was kind of the theory behind the podcast. Like, there's 100 things I could better be doing than a podcast. I don't have a sponsor. I could be monetizing. I have 6,000 subscribers, but I don't monetize it. There's a bunch of stuff I could be doing other than podcasting, but it's for him. And if that grows over 10 years to 20,000 subscribers, and he's 12 years old and he has an interest, there's a ready-made platform. He doesn't have to start from zero. So much like the sets, I wanted to give him the platform, the network. Like, when he's 6 years old, he'll know who Fritz is. Do you get what I'm saying? He's met. He met Natalie Brunell. He met Jeff Booth. No, he didn't meet Jeff Booth, actually. He met Bob Burnett, Gary Cardone. That's what I want. I wanted to give him the education, the network, the platform, and the sets, so that hopefully somebody will keep him right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
when I'm pushing up the daisies. So that was kind of.
It's your values and your purpose-driven mission here shines, and it's first principles from the heart. And also, I mean, I was thinking about it. Just imagine years from now or whatever, he can go back and watch some of these videos, whether he remembers it all or not, all the memories of Dad and the people involved, and what not just the sats, but what Dad did. This is about relationships and humanity and the connections we make, and that alone for him might also be a real amazing experience.
It's a catalog of, like, I had him on my lap making the first episode before he could really talk. He was saying dada. He still couldn't say mama, and yet he was here. I had him in front of the camera, and excuse me, I haven't put out as many videos as I had aimed to do this year because of him. It's
life's
tiring,
happening.
But still in all, we're going to round out the year with maybe 14 or 15 videos, and I'm going to up that next year. So basically, he has a catalog from before he could talk he was helping me with a YouTube podcast, and
Yeah.
He'll either be very embarrassed and say, "Oh, Dad," or it's an opportunity for him. Maybe by the time he's a teenager, it'll be AI that'll be going and flashing these flashbacks in front of his glasses or something to remind him. But it's a catalog that will be there.
Yeah.
That's,
I think it's awesome.
at least at this point, when I mention him in the future and stuff like that, I used to almost cry. People asked me about that story, and I was just completely overcome, because at the beginning it was very, I didn't think I was going to be a dad. Like when you get to 51, and my wife wasn't too much younger, actually.
Yeah.
The doctor told us anywhere between 3% and 5% chance that you get pregnant, stay pregnant, have a healthy delivery, and have a healthy kid, between 3 and 5%. So
Sam's a special miracle in your life.
he is. So at the same time as that joy and that love was going on, I felt very, very, very guilty when I was sitting feeding him at night, looking at him and thinking, because I hadn't yet found Bitcoin, and the future is just so uncertain. And so that kind of overwhelmed me, that the love on one side, and then I had guilt for bringing him into the world. So whenever I used to share that story or talk about it, I could feel my voice going. I've told that story often enough now that thankfully I can hold it together without my voice wobbling.
It's amazing the emotions you feel as a parent, and when you see the baby born, and just I was a mess, and it's like, wow, it hit me unexpectedly. Having a young daughter, I've gotten really sentimental about things. Yeah, it changes you, and yeah, that heart stuff, it's good.
Yeah, it is good. It is good. It's also slowed me down by at least 20 miles per hour. People sometimes say to me, "What's the biggest change in becoming a dad?" And I say, 20 miles an hour slower.
You're not speeding.
Yeah, I had a heavy right foot, and that's sort of perception changes when. Yeah, it's a magical thing, and so for that to happen at the same time, and you felt that too a little bit before I did, the Bitcoin and the kid, sort of one arriving with the other.
Yeah,
it's a powerful thing.
There's people that are like, we wouldn't want to have kids. Who'd want to bring a kid into this world? And and before I found Bitcoin, I was kind of black pilled. It's like, well, I mean, what is there, gold, or I was just kind of doomer. And yeah, what Bitcoin did was open up the future and the hope, and feeling good about, the legacy we can leave for our kids and the world that our kids can have. And that's where Bitcoin changed a lot in that regard for me, was instead of like, well, geez, if I just, grind away like generations before and get my pension and then subsist, and then what am I leaving for my kids? Well, hopefully I'm not in debt, So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, debt. You know that when I was in Prague, that's the day it was announced that we'd gone over 37 trillion debt. That was last June. We're not even at 6 months from there. I think it was June 21st. So tomorrow will be 6 months. And what are we now? We're barreling towards
38, or is it more?
It's more. It's more. I think I don't know if we've turned 39 yet or not, but we're somewhere in there. 2 trillion a year being added, and it's actually speeding up. So yeah, without Bitcoin, like I told you earlier that I'm going to bed late and getting up early, but I'm getting great sleep, because when I do go in there, I peep in at him. He's in his crib beside me, and I get into bed and I sleep happy.
Puts everything in perspective.
Yeah, because like I used to, before he came along, even for myself, there would have been nights where I tossed and turned. Maybe there was a rattle in the car, and you start doing the math about what it might cost, and or you feel your knee sore, and you're thinking, shit, what is this gonna? And there was just this constant. It's hard to keep up with. Well, I didn't realize what the problem was at that stage. I just knew that, holy shit, I'm earning good money, and I'm not I'm still having to worry about this stuff. But I go in there and I get into bed and I put my head down and go to sleep. It's a beautiful thing.
Peace of mind for the future. Man, Sam, this has been amazing. Good job being a good dad and a Bitcoiner dad and teaching little Sam about what good money is. And it's been my pleasure to have you. I really appreciate all this time and a nice deep dive, and I can let you go. Just thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, well, I'll send that straight back to you with you and Evie.
Yeah, Evie. Yeah,
Evie. Yeah, you too. And hopefully we both make it to Prague.
Yeah, I aim to be there. I think I'll be there. So yeah, I'll see you there too.
We might not see each other before that because we're 3,700 miles apart, I think, but something like that. But
across the country.
We'll be in touch, and I'm sure we'll get to know each other.
Yeah, totally.
Better and better. So we'll look forward to Prague, and thank you for having me. Sorry, I kind of feel guilty about the time, and
I'm good on my end. You're the one on the East Coast, so
sorry if it was a rambly and incoherent.
Oh no, it's good. This is kind of what the format that I do is, and it's these kind of relationship deep dive conversations that I am just better at. But if I was more of a genius, I imagine I'd have like an agenda and have like that hour of solid. If I had bigger high influencers joining, I'd be mindful of, okay, you got to catch a flight in, and can't be here more than an hour. Here's the agenda points. We're going to hit it solid and go. And my brain doesn't really work that way. It's really usually more of a conversation. And if it's good, I go. So
quickly before we finish.
Yeah.
That Jeff Booth episode of my podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I was in LA. Jeff was on the East Coast. I had scheduled time with him at 9 a.m. But I'm in LA. So 9 a.m. Eastern.
Early.
I had to record that at 6 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you something. If you ever sit down with Jeff Booth, you have to do your homework. You can't just show up to talk to Jeff Booth.
Right.
As I learned.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You get up early, you wake up and get your mind around it, and you got your kind of preparation together. And that's the thing. I'm on being on the West Coast, I'll have people that want to do the podcast and they want to do in the morning. Well, I've gotten up at 5 a.m. to do it. And I got to get up at 4:30 and really, oh, okay, I'm awake. So
Robin Sire often talks about starting out, how he started out, because he's 6 hours ahead of Eastern.
Yeah.
So he's 9 hours ahead of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was getting up in the middle of the night and going back to bed and then editing it later in the day and doing some crazy stuff. Man. I don't know how he did what he did for 2 years. 700. It's a great credit to him.
Yeah. And yeah. Well, he'll stack them up in a day so he can get a day here and there kind of like off, although he's editing and making shorts and clips and managing that. But it's a lot of organization. His European time zone. Well, so like when I did his podcast once, I did it at like 1 or 2 in the morning. So it was respective of kind of his time. But for me, it was kind of like, okay, I got to stay up late. But he'll do plenty like that where he works very hard. Hardest working guy, people say in Bitcoin, he's in that span of time right now. He's young, fiance, but not married, and doesn't have kids. So a lot of these things that come make all that real hard, but he's taking advantage. He's making the hay while the sun is shining. So
he's an incredible guy. I have a lot of respect for him, and I met him in Prague. and you'll get a shock when you meet him. He's very tall.
Yeah,
And,
German.
And he's even nicer in reality. Very open person. He'll so yeah, you'll meet him in Prague. He's kind of a mainstay. I think he actually helps. He moderates some of the panel discussions and things. So and he actually ran his podcast from, like, I don't know if it was live, but from Prague. So you'll meet him there, and you'll meet me as well, and hopefully hopefully I won't take up 3 hours and 20 minutes of your time. And
hey, if we got the time, this has been fun. I'm good for it. So yeah, happy to do it. It'll be fun. I look forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So listen, thanks so much for having me. I hope it made some sense. And
oh, totally. Yeah,
I'm with you. Looking forward to getting to know each other better and going down more rabbit holes.
Yeah, we will do it. We will see you in Prague. When I wrap this up, stay on. We'll debrief and talk after backstage. So anyway, thanks for joining me. Thanks for everybody who is watching, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody.